Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Richard Lewis Show. I'm your host Richard Lewis, risen from the deathbed that I was in for 3-4 days. I've got a pretty bad chest infection and throat infection at the moment. You should probably be able to tell from my voice. So apologies if my usual high energy broadcast doesn't occur. But I didn't want to put this off any longer. It's been a long time in the making. I am joined by the notorious, the legendary, the sole hope for Canadian Counter-Strike.
Stop.
It is Josh Steele Nissan, who just got done over at the Summit. So we'll start by talking about that, brother, I think. How did that go? Because this was you getting back in the saddle to doing some commentary, which you haven't done for quite a long time.
It was a fun event. I really enjoyed just, I don't know, the casting element. I guess it was fun. I kind of feel like I'm more of an analyst than I am a caster, though. But the event was fun. The staff and the hospitality there were great. Really made you feel welcomed, and just anytime that you had an issue, it was taken care of. Kept you well fed. You needed transportation, they got you covered there. So it was really cool. It was a really refreshing take on getting back into CS casting a little bit. I've done other events in the past which aren't quite as like accommodating. So yeah, it was fun. It was good.
Almost every other event on the calendar, I imagine. I won't name names, DreamHack, but
whoa.
Yeah, you thought you were here to talk about you, Josh. No, mate, I'm just using you as a sounding board. But
don't use my name to get views on YouTube.
That's what it's all about, mate. That's how we operate. So I did see, though, you made a Reddit thread after the event asking for feedback on your commentary, which I think that's wonderful. I think you really are a glutton for punishment, like few people I've ever met.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm the biggest masochist ever. Anything related to me, I have to like read, and I don't know. But I did the same thing. I'd still like when I was doing observing stuff, I still did a feedback thread for that as well, because I'm that's just who I am. I'm a perfectionist. I need to always just get better at whatever I'm doing. I need to always constantly improve. That's just who I am. So if I can, get other people to give me constructive criticisms, then I can apply that. The problem is Reddit doesn't understand what constructive is.
Yes.
I don't like your voice.
I guess I'll just
I don't like your jokes.
Yeah. This is the thing, though. I mean, so is that an indication then that this is an area you want to move, more into? Because obviously people probably forget this. You've done commentary before. I think even we did some together for ESEA, if memory serves me correctly, which it might not. We
did a long time ago for ESEA, and I remember when I was on MTW living in Europe. You told me that I should get into casting. This was back during like northern, not northern thing. It was like in Germany somewhere, the tournament, and like
it was that fucking, what was it called? Northern Land or something, wasn't it?
Something. Yeah,
it was that one that was VP and NIP in the final.
Yeah, NIP was NIP and Very Games.
That was it. But I remember Taz was like the best player in the world at that moment in time. Well, the best player who didn't play for NIP. That was a strange event because there was like huge delays, wasn't there? We just sat around doing fuck all for.
I was doing manual labor for MTW. They really fucking got everything out of me. It's great.
Well, yeah, because didn't you have to in between games sit at some fucking booth doing like 1v1s or something? That was your warm up.
I was supposed to do something else. I was playing with some like really shit tier team. Like they were really, really super bad, and I thought that they were going to be better. But it was like a favor for the manager of MTW, so I was going to play with them, and then I was going to do like some casting whenever they wanted to pull me on stage for that. Actually, no, I had to basically beg to be allowed to cast. It was a really awkward situation.
Yeah, this is it. NorthCon,
right?
Yeah, and it was Ninjas in Pajamas and ESC Gaming in the final. I remember.
Was it ESC? Not. You're right then. Maybe that was why you thought VP eventually was gonna.
Yeah,
Katowice.
Yeah, someone had to, right? But yeah, I remember that event. And yeah, you were there with. It was MTW, right? I'm trying to think.
We didn't play there.
That was it. Yeah, you were just there because it was a German event. Yeah, it's all coming back to me. But yeah, see, I'm good with career advice. I think you have a natural.
If only I switched to casting back then,
Well, look, obviously there's an elephant in the room. We're going to talk about it, but I want to get back to the summit thing first, dude.
Sure.
So obviously, while you were out there, how did that approach happen? Like, because did they come to you? Did you go to them? Did someone vouch for you? Because obviously you haven't done it for a while, So how did it all come about?
I was approached. I forget by whom, and they asked me to do it. I said, yeah, sounds good. We discussed the rate and everything, and then shortly after I was on board, I was contacted by I call them the MCs, meme creators, and they wanted to put together that PSA skit as well. So
that's their idea, not yours.
That was their idea, yes.
Okay.
They wrote it. It was their idea. They wrote it. They edited everything. I just filled in for the role of me. So we did that. I think part of the reason that they reached out to me was that it was like a more relaxed, laid back tournament, and maybe they could just get me for views. Maybe they could get me for the skit. I don't know specifically why they decided to go for me instead of other choices out there, but I'm happy they did. It was fun.
So let's talk about that skit, because that's where I was going with this. We've talked about this privately, and I made this point in the video I did about the whole, free swag movement. I found this out after the whole loader thing, right? That I don't, my past 10 years in esports don't count for anything. I'm always going to be the guy who got banned off Reddit and supposedly choked out a professional Dota player, Nobody places that within like a long lifespan. They don't say, oh, but look at all the other good stuff he did. And he's human. People are going to have lapses of judgment and fuck up. Everyone on social media is perfect and flawless. But there was a long period of time, it felt like, where I don't know if you didn't want to talk about what happened, or if you were kind of avoiding it, or if you just wanted it kind of put to bed. So I was really surprised to see you kind of engage with this skit.
Yeah.
So what was that like? I mean, did you do it like, was there like just kind of acceptance that you were going to have to do that, or?
When I was first contacted about it, and they said, this is our idea, would you be on board with it? I said, potentially, if the script was okay. So they drafted up a script, sent it to me. I was like still a little skeptical. I didn't know how the community would react, but I was still open to doing it. So they sent the script around to a few other personalities. The personalities said, you know what, this is pretty funny. It's a good idea. I think you guys should do it. And then I guess that reinforcement helped me just decide, you know what, all right, let's do it. Let's do it. And it was explained to me that it's kind of lighthearted. It's serious, but not serious. It gets the message across, but it's not like over sappy or anything like that. So I think it was a good mixture of being serious, but not being too overly like dramatic about it. And I think it found a nice soft spot that I could approach the situation and just be like, you know what? All right, let's do it. It should be good.
Did it feel cathartic at all when you were doing it, kind of joking about this huge taboo thing that you deliberately avoided talking about, or were you still kind of uncomfortable?
So the main reason why I'm uncomfortable talking about it is because people, like all the comments that I read through Twitch, Twitter, Reddit, everything, anytime someone talks about it, I feel like the wrong arguments are always presented, and that people don't have all the facts, people don't have all the context. And that's why I avoid it for the most part, because it just seems like it's a losing battle, it's a losing situation. If I want to talk about it, there's nothing I can say that will paint me in a good light. Either, it doesn't matter what I say, I'm going to lose. So I just I try to these days avoid all situations like that, because I just can't cope with it right now. So I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to avoid it. I won't talk about it, good or bad. I won't say like what I did was bad, even because people are still going to jump on it and say like, "Oh, you're not actually sorry. It's like you're only sorry you got caught and shit like that." I'm like, dude, I'm not even talking about that right now. I can't talk about anything like, about like all the bullshit that's happening to me over my like pro career. Starting from 2008 and like when CS:GO Lounge started coming out and all the matches were getting DDoS and all the players were getting DDoS and all this bullshit. I can't say anything like that because it comes back to, oh, so you're just making an excuse now. It's like, well, fuck, I wasn't trying to say that. I'm saying like, yeah, I'm just saying like there's a bigger issue out there and people are focusing on such a small thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I know. Look, I kind of look at it this way. I think you're in a unique position in the sense that I think the only thing that can happen is you get like a kind of, belated welcome turnaround. Like something positive can come out of the awfulness of what is. I mean, very strange because it only feels recently you're almost allowed on a broadcast now. Like it was. I remember the in the aftermath when the news broke and Valve banned, and everyone was like, "Oh, well, you can't be an observer anymore."
Yeah.
And maybe I understand that decision short term. Like, let's put some distance between us and the problem. I mean, that's standard PR. Yeah. But then let's revisit 3 months, 6 months. Long time in esports, right? But that just never happened. And we got like substandard observers. I mean, you were widely regarded as the best observer, a pioneer in that regard. You were the first kind of star observer,
I think I was the first observer, period. And then I did it at the biggest events as well. So the ESL ones and then the EMS one, Katowice, that was a major. I was the only observer to ever touch CS before then.
So, I mean, I don't understand the logic because there's something particularly dark if we go down the route of saying you can never enter into a building again and be around pros. Do companies believe that to be the case? If they do, then I think we're in for a long hard road because there's we know players got away with it. I'm still not hopeful, that's the wrong word, but I still think there's going to be names that get tossed out and people realize it 2 years ago. Maybe they weren't so squeaky clean. Yeah. I think that's going to come at some point.
Well, like it's hard knowing like for a fact, who else did that kind of stuff. And then you just sit on that information and you don't want to ruin their careers. You don't want to be a snitch. At the same time, it's just like, you can't talk about it because someone will just say, well, if you know it, then why don't you prove it? So you can't talk about it either, or like allude to it. With regards to like the observing and everything, observing, casting, doing other gigs, that did happen. I was casting an online tournament with a Veiler for some online thing, and the community started emailing the sponsors and got me pulled from that. So that was enjoyable.
That was an iSeries, I think.
No. This is an online tournament that.
Oh wow!
It might have been like.
Didn't you get pulled from an iSeries as well? That shit?
I was.
That was when you were competing, wasn't it?
That was when I was competing. Okay, so iSeries, I was allowed to go at the start, I think, and then I was banned after a time. ETS LAN, I bought tickets to it, and then I was emailed a couple weeks before the event. Oh, by the way, you're not allowed here because you have a ban in another game, and our rules say that we can ban you for that. I'm like, okay, well, that's neat. So I wasn't allowed competing at those things. I was coaching CLG briefly, but then we were doing a scrim against Shazam's team, and he took a screenshot of me in the server, sent it to someone, I think it was ESL, and then basically they said, yeah, you're not allowed being a coach for this team. And, this was, I think it was about a month or two before the major. And the rules are so vague. Valve's rules are so vague that it says I can't be even assisting a team leading up to a major, and it doesn't. We don't know what that means. I cannot help a team prepare for a major. So does that like I can't coach them a month prior, 2 months prior? Like what does that mean? And it's also all Valve sponsored events. So if it's like a qualifier for a minor or something, I can't be helping a team prepare for that either. So coaching is out of the question because it's just like even if I wanted to coach a team for ESL or ECS or any other online league or tournament, if it's like leading up to a Valve minor or qualifier or major, and Valve perceives that I'm helping a team for that purpose, then that team can be, disqualified from the Valve major. And it's like no team really wants to risk that.
Yeah, I mean, and look, and I don't want to sound like an asshole, so do feel free if you disagree with this point. Like, I know that you wouldn't ever do anything like that again, dude. Like, I know the fucking depths, all right? But equally, I can understand why some people might be squeamish about people who have done that type of thing, coaching a team, being around pro players, look, I know you're not going to go, hey guys, I got this great idea, like, just envelop
realistic idea.
Yeah, right. Like, obviously that's not going to happen, but I think in all sports there's a precedent, right? Where if somebody does do it, even if you don't get a life ban, there are certain activities you're going to be precluded from doing, and maybe coaching's one of them. I think you'd make a hell of a coach, obviously, I know you do. But I can understand why coaching would be off the table. What I don't understand is why observing would be off the table, why being an analyst would be off the table, why being a color commentator would be off the table. Sure, again, if Valve want to dictate who's going to be talent at their events, I guess you can't really stop them, right? But for everybody else to fall in line because they're afraid of what Valve might do, I think that's really weak-willed. And really strange, and it seems to be something that's literally only affected you. By the way, I noticed Dazed's path to redemption seems to have been a lot easier.
It's affected me the most, I feel, just because I was already, like, prior to the bans, I was already kind of dipping my hands into, I was observing, I was doing, like, I had casted some events. For example, with you, I was doing the ESCA stuff. I was building Torqued into an actual, like, organization, and, like, I was doing the tips and stuff on YouTube. And it feels like when the ruling came down, because I was kind of, like, doing all this already, it did affect me the most, because all these things that I was doing have been stopped, not just playing. Daze was doing netcode and playing Swag EZK. They were just playing, and then, I mean, everyone doesn't talk about the Epsilon guys, but they were doing the same thing. They were just playing. And it sucks. I don't know what to say about it. It definitely does suck.
But I mean, do you feel singled out, I guess, is the question? Because look, obviously there's this whole argument, I suppose we'll talk about it in a moment, about, Brax being a young guy. And again, I've got a different type of sympathy for Brax. It's not rooted in his age particularly. It's rooted in his circumstances. Yeah. I think all disciplinary cases, all punishments, all penalties, I think they should be case specific. I don't think there should be ever a blanket rule that you just toss out. I don't think you should ever make an example of someone.
That exists in the real world as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything that happens is a case by case specific review, and you get specific punishments. So yeah.
Yeah, and look, I've done that stuff. I've been on both ends of that. I've been a manager in a shitty office job where someone's coming in late all the time, and you got to discipline them. But if they had, like, a dependent who was sick, an elderly relative living with them, or a sick child, you definitely are going to give them special dispensation over the young kid who's just coming in hungover all the time, right? Context is king. And
so if the question is, do I feel singled out? It feels that way, but I don't think that was the intention. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're like, you know what, they did this, and we're going to let them slide, but Steel's a part of it, so let's really fuck him. I don't think that's the case. That's how it kind of feels, just because that's my mental state right now, and it has been for a really, really super long time. But logically, I don't think that's the actual case.
So, again, have you talked to anybody? Like, because it feels like you're on the road back now, right? And I'll tell you what I mean by that. We exist in a very interesting time where CS has grown so much that leagues like ESL, for example, ECS, they can fund tournaments that actually are of a similar size to a major, They can have a whole circuit, for a year. In real terms, we could actually see, like PEA tried to do. I know Refresh want to do it too. We could see a circuit that operates completely independent of all other circuits in CS if the money was there. And I think the money will be there. I think someone will try that. Now, with that in mind, there'll be nothing stopping you from working any job within that, that circuit, right? Valve would have zero influence over it because we know they're not just going to, out of spite, pull their game. They're not Riot Games. They're not Blizzard. They're not going to do that, right?
Now you can't do LoL or Overwatch anymore.
No, but actually, I've already said this. I mean, we're definitely going to touch on your Overwatch career, and I'm going to tell you some stuff that I heard, and we can probably clear some things up. But But yeah, for real, Valve aren't going to say, well, you can't use CS. They're just not that kind of company. They've never done that. They like to be hands off and like to let things organically grow. So if that was the case, and now the summit's brought you back, we've kind of had a bit of a laugh and a joke about the past. Yeah. It's almost normalizing it, right? So I feel that the doors, it might be a tiny little crack, but I'm pretty sure if you wanted to, you could get your foot in that crack.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, words I hear through the grapevine is that a dialogue has been started about whether or not all those big leagues want to consider unbanning us for their events. But I mean, nothing substantial. And I don't know what something like WESA, I don't know if you call it WESA or WESA or whatever. They've got an arbitration court. I don't know if they would help or if they would consider an appeals process to kind of push anything. I haven't tried, so maybe that's on me, but I don't know if they would actually do anything. I think it has to come from the big players like the ESL and the ECS to kind of start something, and then once one company starts it, I think the rest will kind of have a domino effect and be like, well, if they're allowed here, we should get on board with this as well, because people are going to want to watch those, people are going to watch ESL Pro League if suddenly iBUYPOWER guys are unbanned and we have teams playing in there. People are going to be like, oh, I wonder what these guys are able to do. They've been not playing for 2 years. Let's see what happens. ECS is going to be like, oh, well, if everyone's going to be watching ESL Pro League, we want people to watch us as well. Yeah, we'll do the same thing. We'll unban them or unban them with restrictions or something. But
it sounds to me that what you'd want to do is go and play again.
You know me. I remember having the same conversation with you 5 years ago when you said, just go to be a caster. I said, yeah. As long as I feel capable of being a player and feel like I have not reached my peak, I've not hit my ceiling and I'm not plateauing, I want to keep playing. I don't know. It's something about my competitive drive. And then that's also why I'd rather be a coach as opposed to a caster, analyst, observer. I need that reward of just being able to see results and seeing tracking progress and see that I am getting better. And I feel like the reward from winning in those circumstances and being able to see my actual growth, I feel like I'd feel more of a reward from coaching or playing than I would from the other avenues I can go down.
Have you been approached at all by Boomio? Because they do kind of coaching, one-on-one coaching sessions, right?
Right. No, and I don't like one-on-one coaching sessions. I think they're pretty stupid. I used to do them all the time, don't get me wrong, but I realized after a time that people would come to me and I'd sit down, give them an hour lesson or help a team out with a specific map. For example, the map of the week this week in ESEA is Nuke. Can you help us with that? I'd go there, I'd give them a default, I'd say this is how you can approach it and this is why it's good, and then you can build these strats off of it. But then do the teams actually learn anything? So I realized if you want to actually coach someone, you need to analyze what they're where are they currently at. So you watch their games, you watch their individual plays, you see what they're currently at, their current skill level, and what they're doing wrong. You identify some big problems, and then you tell them about it. You offer possible solutions and fixes to it, and then you have to let them go and try to fix it. And then you go back a week later and you say, okay, these are the issues that you had. These were the possible fixes. Let's see, have you applied everything that I taught you and see where you're at in a week from now? and then you go and revisit a week later, and then a week later, and then after all that time, costs start adding up. So it makes sense for me to do it for a pro level team where I can actually track progress and I'm paid like an actual full-time salary. But if I'm doing it for like a one-on-one lesson with you, and I'm spending an hour out of my day, and I have to do that a few times a month, then that's time that I'm taking out of casting or streaming or doing YouTube videos or doing whatever that I can do to push my brand and get actual money from sponsors who are willing to pay for the audience that I have, right? So suddenly the costs ramp up. And instead of doing it for $50 an hour, I'm doing $100 an hour or $200 an hour, and I'm doing that several times a month. Suddenly someone who's at main level CS or intermediate level or premier level, who is probably just working full time because they're not making any money from CS, now they're spending $500 to $1,000 a month on lessons. It doesn't really make much sense for them to do that. So I don't think a service like Bumio one-on-one coaching is going to be viable for either the students or the coaches.
Okay. So the order is playing, still, coaching,
analyzing, observing, casting.
Right. Like
streaming's all the way down here.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I mean, you did say, and I guess everybody said this, that you were just gonna have to be done with CS because it was kind of torturous being around it and having all these desires and all these ambitions that you couldn't realistically fulfill in a meaningful way, and yet you've never been able to kind of quit the habit, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, why?
Why am I still here? Why am I still in CS?
No, yeah, because what's the fucking appeal?
The appeal is like, at the moment, I feel like it's too risky to try to transition into some like normal job, if you will. Like if I go back into IT at an office job, for example, like I can go there, and when I did that when I was living in the UK, I absolutely loved it. There was routine. I got along with my colleagues really well. I was, for the most part, I was way happier. But at the same token, I'm going to be starting at like an entry level position. I'm going to be making like not a lot of money. And right now I have a lot of responsibilities and a lot of, finance issues that I have to take care of. I have to pay a mortgage on a condo in downtown Toronto. I have car payments that, I did a 2-year finance on a $40,000 car. That's not cheap. So
right. Well, let's rewind. When did you do all this grown-up shit?
When did I start doing this grown-up shit? When I started making money from Twitch. So a couple of years ago.
So this is streaming. So this is in the aftermath of the bullshit.
Yeah, this is the aftermath of the bullshit. When I was on iBUYPOWER, I remember filing my taxes. I made $10,000 when I was on iBUYPOWER in 2014. The next year, I filed my taxes. Let's just say it's a lot more than $10,000. So it ramped up aggressively the first year, and then the second year of streaming full time, it really started getting into another level. And then because I had earned money, I had to start doing something smart with it. So I started investing in it, in real estate, in stocks, and some in specific companies.
How did the stocks work out for you?
Actually, really well so far. Yeah, I don't know if you want specifics or not, but
no. Well, you don't need to tell me your fucking secrets, but it reminds me of the bassist. I think it might have been Duff McKagan. I can't remember which one it was, but from Guns N' Roses, like in the 90s or late 80s. He got given a bunch of money, and they said you got to invest in some shit, right? And he picked like a coffee shop, a computing company, and an online store. And he invested in Starbucks, Microsoft, and Amazon. He just lucked out, and he got all three as they were coming up. So, if you've done as well as him,
not at the moment, not that good, but I've done fairly well. I have a tax-free savings account. I don't know if they have those in the UK.
Yeah, we got those. Yeah.
So you're limited.
Mine's got exactly 0 in it, but we've got.
So you can put like $5,500 a year since they started this program. So probably around $60,000 you can have in it. And then I use that to get shares, and that's grown. It's somewhere between $130,000 and $160,000 right now. So like, 200+% that I've gotten from it. So that's pretty good. And I also have shares not in my TFSA. So, things are looking good, but at the same time, can I afford to switch from streaming and YouTube and doing the odd casting gig to doing something that I'm making, $40,000, $50,000 a year salary? No, because my monthly payments right now are too high for that. If I'm spending $4,000 or $5,000 a month on just my, everyday like food and mortgage payments and insurance and maintenance costs and this and that, utilities, internet, I can't afford to do that. So right now I could maybe do it. It's too risky. Is what I'm saying. Like, so maybe something happens here. Maybe my stream gets really big, and maybe I start getting happier with whatever I'm doing. It's not worth it to kind of just be like, what, everything I've built over the last few years, my brand, everything, to just kind of like be like, what, I'm kind of not happy at the moment doing this. So let's just move on to something that would make me happy.
But streaming sounds like it's done a lot of good things for you, Josh. Yet you fucking hate it. It's the enemy. What the fuck's going on?
I mean, financially, it's done really well for me, and there are some times I really enjoy streaming. When Battlegrounds came out recently, or when I bought it recently, I should say, I got it about 3 weeks ago. The first time I played it, it crashed instantly. I'm like, this game sucks. I'm never going to play it again. I played another night.
Me and Sam were right with you. Fuck that game.
I played another night of Rank S, and I was legit so just absolutely pissed off with just everything that I'm like, fuck CS right now. I'm gonna go play the shit game that I vowed to never play again after the first time I played it. I did an 18-hour stream playing that game, went to bed, woke up, did a 24-hour stream playing that game, and I didn't even plan on doing it. I legitimately had so much fun playing that game that I hadn't had that much fun playing a video game in years. Like, it was that enjoyable. And I'm like, you know what? This game is actually really fun. And even though, like, my viewership dropped, like, I'm used to 2, 3, upwards of, like, 5,000 viewers on my streams normally. I'm down at, like, 500 viewers, 600 viewers. But I'm able to look at the chat and not just be really fucking pissed off all the time. The people that are there are the ones that actually are there for me instead of just there for CS or there for giveaways or there for, whatever other reason. So the amount of trolls and dumbasses that are there, that are just there to just talk shit and be fucking idiots, that's limited. So I can actually enjoy interacting with my chat, and I enjoy playing the games. So, even though I'm taking a huge viewership loss, I'm actually enjoying it a lot more. And I think that's important for me right now. Yeah.
Yeah, but look, I mean, again, I watched your streams, right? I watched it when you came back after it had all happened. And I watched your streams.
Judgment Day happened after Judgment.
Yeah, and it might sound weird and creepy. It was my way of checking on you without having to reach out because it was awkward, And you were fucking miserable, dude. Like, I mean, I've seen you in some states down the fucking years. But that was like, I'd never seen that before. It made me feel like fucking AIDS, which not woe is me. I'm not trying to, get any sympathy. But I hated it. I was watching it and thinking like, why is this dude doing this to himself? And obviously I didn't even think about money, right? Yeah. I thought like because it was the same over on Sam's stream. Dazed was the exact same. I was watching both of them. And I was just thinking, like, I can almost understand it, like the attempt to, again, just normalize it. Let's all get past it. I'm still here. Come on, come and say what you got to say. And it'll stop eventually, right? But then it just didn't stop, and it kept going.
It still goes on to this day.
Yeah, right? And that's where it's like, I don't know. It's a hard thing to accept, but basically when you're streaming, you're the animal in the zoo, right?
Right, and everyone's watching, yeah.
And
then all the kids want to go and touch and tease and all the bullshit. Yeah.
And they kid fall falls in the cage. Yeah, right. You know how that story ends.
Harambe, man.
But that was what I was like seeing, and I thought to myself, like you could, I still maintain, I think you could be up there, summit levels of viewership, because of your personality and stuff. But you have this love-hate relationship with the audience, right? And unfortunately, what you got to do is you can never really turn on them. I definitely don't practice what I preach, right? Like I've literally turned off a stream last week saying I hate my fucking audience and just turned it off because, look, I've got I don't want to be a streamer. If that ever becomes a thing, then yeah, I'll probably play the game and suck some dick and be really disingenuous. But some people irritate the fuck out of me. I loathe their banal stupidity, and I can't get past it.
I think that's where like most of my like subscribers and loyal viewers come from. Is, like people that share that same mentality. That like I'm a perfectionist. I get pissed off when I see stupid shit happening, and I'm not afraid to call people out on it.
And that's the same.
Refreshing almost.
Yeah,
that's
why
I also hate it. It's controversial because that's where people come in and be like, "This guy's an asshole. Why does anyone watch him?" It's like, well, everyone's got their own cup of tea, right?
You should probably start trying to debate or discuss with those people. I think engage them, do something.
I try to, but they don't have arguments. They just sit there and be like, "You match fix. You're scum of the earth." I'm like, well, I'm glad you haven't done anything wrong in your life ever. Something that you regret. Also, it comes back to the same thing that you said. You're known as, I'm sorry. I was playing PUBG and there's a choker I put on the shotgun and I accidentally I said I put the Richard Lewis on the shotgun. We're good to go.
That's fine. That'll always. It's getting that bad when I go on Tinder. I only attract a certain kind of chick now. They all want to get choked. You know what I'm saying?
Hey man.
My reputation precedes me.
Everyone's got their kinks.
Yeah. So let's rewind it. Let's do the thing. Let's do the thing.
Okay.
You've joined iBUYPOWER, right? You're in this wicked team. It's a great lineup. Yeah. CS is it's not quite there yet, but it's getting there. We can all see the road ahead about how the game's got this growth potential. Tell me about iBUYPOWER as an organization, how they treated you, because I've always said this publicly, and I've tried to use this as a way to get people to understand. I know how hard you worked at that organization. I know how, I used to see you on Steam Friends. You guys would be playing all the fucking time, practicing all the fucking time. And I knew you weren't getting salaried. I knew you had some weird secret handshake. You'll get the sticker money if we get sticker money. Is that true?
Right. Yeah, no, it was true. We got 100% of all prize money and sticker money, but we at the cost of having no salary. I think if we want to like rewind the clocks, like it has to go back to also like how badly MTW fucked me.
Yeah, let's go.
Because they actually like fucked me really super hard, and I talked about it on stream here and there, but people don't actually know like how much I got fucked. Yeah. So this goes back to like back when I was playing with Daze and Source. So this is before I started playing with Mo even. And I remember there was no sponsorships in CS Source. We'd been playing for several years on a professional level. There's no sponsors. Tournaments are so scarce. You have CEVO Online League or ESEA LAN where you can win like $5,000 for first place if you win the entire LAN. And you've paid your own travel fees to get there. So you're only like walking away with $400 or something. And ESWC 2011 pops up. And it's like, oh, you know what? Like, we can go here. It's got a decent prize pool. Maybe we can attract sponsorships if we do really well. Let's go and do it. We
fully talked, right?
We went as Check 6 to this event.
That was at Check 6, sorry.
Yeah, we went as Check 6. Check 6 gave us $1,000 to go there. To get the rest of the money, I had to borrow the money from my dad. So I asked him for $4,000 so we can get our flights and go there. We split the hotel. We paid for our own food. We ended up getting third place there. And we networked a little bit, and by we I mean Dazed. He got Netcode Guides a sponsorship from Razer, so that was pretty cool that he used for himself. We didn't get to use any of that. We got third place at the event, which was about $3,600 after like the bullshit PayPal, whatever the fuck. So the team and I agree we're going to use that money for Copenhagen Games 2012. But before, like between ESWC and Copenhagen Games, we ended up cutting Days from the roster because well, there were various reasons, a rift in the team, and everyone agreed it was best to just do that. We decided to pick up Mo, and then so we went to Copenhagen Games using the winnings from ESWC. We went there with Mo. We got 4th place. Everything was good. I ended up paying my dad back the €1,000 that we won from Copenhagen Games. So technically, I guess I'm still $3,000 in debt to him, roughly. But because of Copenhagen Games result, MTW approached me. They said, you know what? We want you on the team. How do you feel about this? This is like all the things that we have to offer. We're going to have a salary. We're going to have a team house in Hamburg, Germany. We're going to get to go to these events. We'll be in like ESL, like EPS Germany. We'll be doing all this stuff. You'll be able to go to tournaments. Like, wow, that sounds like a really cool idea. It sounds like a great experience if it doesn't work out even. So let's do it. I got my British
just
passport.
as a point of information, because there'll be people watching this who didn't follow Source at all. So right. MTW, Mortal Teamwork as it's called, huge German organization. Were the #1 team in Germany by some distance. And what had happened in recent years towards the end of Source, they'd started bringing in foreign imports. So at one point they had an almost exclusively UK team with Hossa, who had moved from Alternate Attacks. He works at 2K Games now. But anyway, so they looked the real deal. They were big spending, and German EPS in Source terms was like Mecca, because it was big companies, big sponsorships. It was a really well-run league, and it had some of the best players, playing in it. Everybody had a decent sponsorship. Even the teams down at the bottom usually had a company associated with them. So it was a very competitive league. It was quite a high level, but MTW were fucking streets ahead of everyone else. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So they promised all those things. They said, yeah, this is going to be ready for you. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I was really upfront with my team. I'm like, this is the offer I'm getting. I'm really considering it. They said, like, you know what, I would do it if I was in your position. I said, all right, let's do it. So I agreed to do that with them, with MTW rather. I got my UK passport. I was playing with them online for a couple months. I'm asking them constantly, what's the status of the house? They're like, oh yeah, it's going to be like another month. It's going to be another month. Finally, they fly me to the UK, where that's where I stayed with you for a few weeks on your couch. And really should get you a present for it, because
don't worry. I couldn't get you out the fucking house though, could I? I couldn't get you to come out drinking with me in Birmingham. You were practicing too much.
I was playing, I was raging, I was slamming shit. I broke one of your flimsy shit chairs.
You did. You broke one of my headgear chairs.
That was when Freiburg was killing everyone. I was raging really hard. I'm like, this guy's a shitter. Why is he killing me all the time? Which I've since on cast been like, you know what, he's actually turned around as a player, and I apologize for that shit. I was really an asshole to Freiburg at the time. Anyway,
so I think the assumption was that he was cheating at that time.
That was an onliner, yeah, because he was really fucking good. So I was playing, I was at your place for a few weeks. I was at my auntie's place in London for a couple weeks, playing I was there at my cousin's place. I had the monitor set up on the kitchen table in one case. I had it set up on a coffee table in another case, in front of the TV. It was a hard time, and I was just playing matches like that. And then finally they're like, okay, you can stay with me in Germany. So I stayed at my manager's place with his wife and two toddlers, basically. They were 4 and 6 years old or some shit. I was playing there for a couple months. Then they had the boot camp facility ready. It wasn't in Hamburg. It was a joint venture between the owner of MTW and ESC. And when I went there, this was already... So the timeline was, I went to England in August of 2012. Mm-hmm. And that's when I stayed with you. And then it was October and November that I was in... it was at my manager's place, north of Germany, in North Germany. And then I went to the ESC MTW boot camp thing. And that was the last one. That was December. Mm. When I went there, the place wasn't set up at all. It was an industrial facility, building, and they wanted to turn it into a boot camp. So there were no beds, there were no tables, there was nothing. I was helping them do this because I thought there was light at the end of the tunnel. I thought I was going to get paid. I hadn't been paid so far because I needed an address in Germany so I can open a bank account so they can give me money.
Yeah, salary was €1,200 or something, right?
No, it was
more?
€400. It was
What?
I think it was
it that little?
Yeah, it was that little. It was €300 a month, and then €150 for like food and stuff.
Jesus.
So 450 I was supposed to get. I got paid 1 month of salary and 1 month of food stipend or whatever. That's it for the past, like, I joined the team in like April or something. So like the last 7 months, I got paid for one of the months. I ripped up the old floor, laid down the new floor. I assembled all the bunk beds in the place. I scraped down, there was like bullshit stuff on the walls. I don't even know what kind of material it was. I had to scrape the fuck out of it, paint the new walls. I set up all the desks for all the computers. Like, I was doing all this manual labor, like lifting all the bullshit upstairs. I was doing all this manual labor because I thought, like, you know, we're going to build a new team. The MTW owner this entire time was like, we're going to build a new team. January, we build a team around you. You can choose whoever you want on the team. Like, maybe we move Nookie to coach. So I was being fed all this bullshit, and I believed it because I was young and I was naive, and I was really hopeful for this to work out. And I'm doing all this manual labor. I'm not getting paid for it. End of December comes, like, this is what's happening. We're shutting the org down. We have no money. We have no money from sponsors. We're shutting it down. There's nothing here. I'm like, okay, what the fuck? Like, okay, so I'm like, give me my money. Give me this. They're like, no, like, there's no money. Like, send us your invoices. We'll see what we can do. It's like, okay. So I remember messaging you at the time. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, they're basically bankrupt. They're saying, like, there's no team. The laptop. It was the only fucking thing I got from them, right? The fucking laptop. The XMG laptop that I had to keep plugged in. If I unplugged it, it would turn off because the battery was fucking shot. I said, I'm the MTW manager, because I wasn't living with him at the time. He told the ESC manager, don't let him take the laptop. I said, what the fuck do you mean? Like, it's the only thing I have. And they're like, it's not our property. It's XMG's property. We have to return it. I'm like, I'm leaving with this laptop. They said, we'll call the police on you. I remember messaging you. I'm like, this is the situation. If I don't message you tomorrow,
I've been
call
arrested.
the cops.
yeah, you've been arrested.
Call the cops. I bought a train ticket to London, and then I couch surfed for 2 weeks on family. Like, I have 3 cousins there, my aunt. So I couch surfed for a few weeks, and then I ended up having to get an office job to make ends meet, and so I could find a place to live, and so I'm not staying on couches. And that was me stopping competitive CS to live and work in the UK full time, because CS was too small at the time. I'd been fucked royally, like, throughout the years, from sponsors, shady sponsors, fucking
you
not
never
getting
got
paid,
that money,
bullshit.
by the way.
No, MTW still owes me the money. It was,
how much was
7
it
months. 7 months times €450. And then all the fucking manual labor setting up that bullshit and basically wasting a year of my life. That was sick. Yeah. Good times. Because it wasn't even like I was in, like, a good part of Germany, and I had no money either. Like, this, like, I had no money saved up, and I'm not gonna go, like, I don't know. I've always been that type of person that's like, I'm not gonna go and be like, Dad, I'm just, like, I need you to bail me out of the situation. I'm always the type of person that needs to kind of figure the shit out on my own.
It's a fucking hard sell as well, though, because you spend so long telling your parents, your family, your girlfriends, right? Yeah, nah, this is real. This is real.
Yeah, I know.
We got this, right? And then something like that happens, and it, you know, I'd rather just fucking sleep rough, you know, than have to go back and explain to them, yeah, you were right, it's all bullshit.
Yeah. You know? So, I mean, that was my exit out of competitive CS. Oh, by the way, just because this is going to come up later in the story, I was full-time opping for MTW. I had been for, like, almost a year. Just to preface.
Yeah, I think I remember that. I also think I remember not liking that at all. I thought that was dumb, but whatever.
They didn't have a dedicated opera, and I'm not letting Nookie and Hudgy trade off.
It was Nookie was trying to do it, and that was
Nookie was doing it, and then Hudgy was doing it, but they weren't like stupid. Yeah, so I'm just like, no, we need a dedicated one. If not, we tried picking some up. It didn't work out. Yeah. So I'm just like, I'm gonna do it. Like, I remember we tried, like, Delpan and Barbar and just other bullshit and, like, Maxaki and shit. Yeah. Christ. Anyways, so I'm out of CS. I'm working full time. I'm still, like, kind of playing CS on the side a little bit with, like, I played with the UK guys, the Dignitas guys, Henry G, Vertigo, Som, Pez, like, those guys. It was a fun team, but it wasn't like a team that can compete, right? It was like a fucking shits and giggles, go and have a LAN party, get drunk, get other things, and have a good time. Just play and have a good time. And it was a fun team, but it didn't
spill drinks on Pansy.
Did that happen?
Yeah, do you remember that?
I don't remember spilling a drink on her, but
there was this
I remember
time
at iSeries.
I think it was the first time you met her. I don't know. You knew her, but I don't think you met her in person before.
Right.
And you went up and you tried to be all cool. I'm not saying you were making advances, but you literally, the first thing you did was throw like half a pint all over her. Like, I don't even know how the fuck you did it. It was like one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Yeah. And then you were like, oh, shit, sorry about that. I've been drinking a bit. So then you went, oh, I've got to get another drink now, so I may as well get you a drink. So she said, okay, yeah, thanks. I'll have a cider or whatever. She was drinking a Copperberg. And you went up to the bar and you came back with the 2 drinks and immediately threw the next one over her, dude. Like, you did a double whammy back to back. It was one of the most fucking...
Holy fuck.
I was fucking howling with laughter.
God, I don't remember that at all. I remember people were like, you disappeared for 2 hours. I'm like, what? I thought I was here the whole time. So I remember that. I remember telling you something else, and you're like, sugar pill mate. You remember that?
Shit, I do.
Like, sugar pill mate.
Oh, God. Yeah, those events were a fucking mess, by the way. Let's go.
The iSeries, fucking Christ. So I was playing. I was working full time, and Red Eye was working for ESL at the time, and he approached me to do the observing stuff. So I did a couple of weekends of like ESL 1 events that were in Cologne in their studio, and we had done that. And then I remember EMS1, so DreamHack Winter came along. It happened. It was the first major in 2013. And then 2014, EMS1 Katowice, Red Eye asked me to do the observing gig there again. And I would have to take time off work. But one of my coworkers had scheduled the work off already, scheduled time off that week. Mm-hmm. And because we're working in a small IT team, we need to make sure that there's, enough people to cover whatever responsibilities. And I said, like, I really want to do this. This is a really good opportunity for me. This is something I'm really passionate about. I want to go and, do this event. I want to observe it. I want to be there. Can I get the dates off? And they said no. So 2 weeks, like I asked for 2 weeks. I got the no. I put in my 2 weeks notice 2 weeks before the event because I told Red Eye, yeah, I'm absolutely going to fucking do it. I'll figure out, a job situation after the fact. So I quit my job so I could be observer at that major. And that major was fucking incredible. It was in Poland. There were like 10,000 live spectators at the Spodek Arena. It was fucking crazy. I remember, like, I'm sitting there on the observer PC. I'm backstage, and I hear the crowd, like, I can't hear the game because the crowd's so loud. I can't think, like, the fucking floor is rumbling. It was crazy. And I'm there observing, and every kill, I spectate, I go to the next person, sick kill. I hear the audience. I'm like, fuck, dude, I want to be on that stage. I want to go back to playing. So a few weeks after this event, when I'm still trying to, like, figure out what the fuck I'm going to do, maybe it was less than a few weeks, the iBUYPOWER guys, like, Days messaged me. And actually, I think it was TCK messaged me because he was saying complexity and iBUYPOWER, and then I was weighing the options because they were both interested in getting me. So I ended up picking iBUYPOWER because neither team had salary at the time, but then complexity was trying to pick up anger, and then I didn't know the rest of the guys. I didn't know Sean, Semphis, I think they had Hiko as well, but I didn't know those guys. I knew Dazed, I knew AZK. I played on teams with both of them, Dynamic with AZK, and I played with Dazed through Check 6, CyberRev.
It seems to me really strange that you picked that team, though, because you and Sam used to fucking argue all the time.
Yeah, so as, like, I guess the best way to put it is, like, we were really good in, like, a professional environment type of thing. Like, no matter how much we bitched, we were really good teammates in the sense that we weren't afraid to tell each other, like, straight up, bluntly, like, this is wrong. And we had kind of different philosophies approaching the game. So I had my methods, he had his. But I think that really worked well when we were able to kind of not compromise, but be able to kind of run both. So his style worked in some cases, my style worked in others. We could really come together on strategy creation, and that we communicated really well, and we were able to in-game lead. If one of us was dead in game, then the other could lead the team. So I think there was a really good dynamic between the two of us, even though, we didn't get along too well outside of the game, and we, I mean, he doesn't really have too many close friends outside of the game in general. But even if he did, I don't think like we would have gone along on that level. Anyways, like we played Heroes of Newerth together and we played StarCraft together, but that was because we were teammates more than anything else.
Yeah. Okay.
So the dynamic worked there, and I was familiar with it. I had worked with him before. I'd worked with AZK before. I was familiar with that, so I felt more comfortable doing that as opposed to playing with Complexity, people I didn't know, and then Anger, who at the time didn't get along with, and I didn't think he was a strong player, and I didn't think I would have.
How much truth is there in how I always perceived it in NA, that there was a group of people who were effectively the gatekeepers for like the entire scene? I always felt Daze was one of those guys. He knows it. I've said it to him when I've talked to him, that you had to be on their good side. They were the guys who were going to get the sponsorships, right? They were going to be the guys that were going to get asked to be in teams. And if you weren't willing to kiss some rings that were dotted around the NA scene, you wouldn't get into those teams. You wouldn't get into those sponsorships. I
have to disagree with that. I think there is, to some level, a little bit of politics, or like back then and even to this day. But I think for the most part, a player can make a name for themselves if they're big enough. Like when I got into the scene, I was leading shit tier teams, and then I was able to add like a couple of better players here and there. So like I'd add like a Ryan Ramba and a Monty type of thing. And these guys at the time they didn't have big, like they weren't pro level by any means of the word. And then I played with a Schaefer and P0S and Remix and those guys. And those guys were like has-beens at the time. They were like really not the highest level players. So that's how I started making a name for myself. And then Dynamic ended up picking me up because I was performing really well. And they saw that and they liked that. At the time, like Daze was considered an onliner. Like he was really good in SIVO and online, but every time he went to a LAN, he always, like his teams always sucked. And he was playing with like Frost and Experience and Casey Foster and those guys, and they always sucked on LAN. So everyone thought he was an onliner, and they couldn't get sponsorships really. The only thing that they could get sponsorships for was because like the netcode guides thing, and then they were able to get Razer off of that. So that's how they were able to kind of do that. But at the time, I don't think Daze was the gatekeeper. I think no one was the gatekeeper in that time. It was basically there were no sponsorships at all. Like Dynamic was the only sponsor that paid for events. Maybe like whoever was friends with like Mika, so like Mo's guys.
Christ, that dude.
Mo, War Machine, Clown, like those guys had like Mika pay for bullshit, but I don't know the extent of that. But besides like Mika, Dynamic, CyberRev, there weren't really sponsors. And then there was like Fornot came in later on, and there was Check 6 for a brief period of time as well. But besides those, there was nothing. And even those Check 6 guys, the French guys, they came out of nowhere. That wasn't politics involved. So I don't think Daze was a gatekeeper by any stretch of the means. Stretch of the word.
So you've decided now you're going to play with Daze and AZK. You're there. You've made that difficult decision.
So I would move back to Canada, play on iBUYPOWER. We keep 100% of the prize pool. We keep 100% of sticker money. And then we had
Stop you there then. Why was no salary presented? I think this is super important to the story. Why couldn't iBUYPOWER offer you a salary?
So iBUYPOWER was not like every other gaming org you have now. So like they weren't like C9, Envy, G2, VP, Fnatic, whatever. They are a company that primarily wants to sell you a pre-built computer. That's their goal. So they wanted sponsorship. They wanted advertisement in that, so that people would go out and buy the iBUYPOWER PCs. And then they had vendors that they would work with. So they would work with Intel, they would work with Sennheiser, they would work with like AData and those companies. But for some reason, and I told the manager at the time, I'm like, dude, like the iBUYPOWER logo is sick. People want it. You should do merchandise. You should sell like jerseys. People are going to buy it. People are going to want to buy this. People are going to want to buy that. Apparently, the higher ups at iBUYPOWER didn't want to do that. They only wanted to put so much money into a travel budget, and they didn't want to like spend too much because they didn't see the ROI from it. I'm like, okay, whatever. But at the time, no teams in North America were salaried, and I don't even think many European teams were salaried. I remember when VP like a year after I joined iBUYPOWER, VP's like, oh yeah, we signed for 2 years with VP for $2,000 a month. And everyone's like, holy shit, 2,000 euros a month. That's a lot. Like, that's really cool. That's really like a lot of money. And that was like a year after I joined iBUYPOWER. So it's like, well, is it really a lot of money? So yeah, there wasn't money in the scene at the time, and I'm not going to argue. We were going to go to all the events, and that's something that I never had before. Someone else to pay my flights and hotels at events, that's crazy. I've never heard of that. Every event I've gone to, I've had to pay out of pocket for something, whether it be hotels or partial like parts of the flights. Like when I went to DS-RAC, the first time I met you, DS-RAC number 3 in Copenhagen with Dynamic.
Was that in the bowling alley? Was that the one below a bowling alley, or was that DS-RAC 2?
I don't think it was DS-RAC.
There was one that was in a school gym. There was a DS-RAC in a school gym, and there was a DS-RAC in a bowling alley.
I think there was carpet, and this was the first time that the 120 hertz BenQs were out.
Yeah, and is that the one with the Call of Duty tournament they had that got mega delayed by like 9 hours on the first day, and everyone was sleeping on sofas and stuff?
I don't think so.
Shit.
But anyways,
fuck it. But yeah,
those
were some great events as well.
I think for that we got some like budget ass tickets to fly from like New Jersey or something to Copenhagen for like, you know, the tickets we got really super lucky on. They were like $500, and then we paid everything else. So like the hotel, the stay, all the transportation, everything.
So
I think
you're paying. Oh,
this is dynamic. This is dynamic. Yeah. So I'm used to even for that shit when I was sponsored by a team, we still had to shell out money to, you know, do things. So when I'm joining iBUYPOWER, I'm like, I don't have to pay for this shit. Like we'll even have a food stipend where our manager's gonna buy us food on like from time to time. I've never fucking heard of this. So this was at the time like a huge deal. Like it was massive. I get to go to tournaments. There's possible majors. I get to keep 100% of prize money. This is a good deal. And the travel budget was $60,000 for the year, and we ended up stretching that. And our manager kind of like pushed for it and is like, "Yeah, we'll go over budget. Fuck it." We ended up going like $100,000 or $120,000 for the year for the team, which, you know, at the time was like, holy fuck, that's a massive amount of money. Like, this is a really good deal, because CS at the time wasn't that big. You know, we had the $250,000 major. There had been 2 at the time before I joined iBUYPOWER, and on iBUYPOWER we went to the 3rd one, and it was just it seemed like a really good deal. And I mean, looking in hindsight, in retrospect, to how big the scene has grown and how big it exploded off of, you know, primarily off of skins, in my opinion, and skin gambling and trading, it really took off. And I don't think anyone could see where CS was going if they had looked back at the last 10 years. Well, maybe not 10 years, I guess, since CGS. So 2014, 2008, so
like
6 years.
6. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So around 6 years,
from where CGS ended, 2008.
And I started just after CGS ended. Or like I remember like the CEVO Pro-Am League. So CGS was still kind of dying at the time that I started playing CS competitively. So I'm like, this is a good fucking deal. So no salary at the time. I didn't think twice about it, because even with MTW, I was getting 300 euros, which is fucking nothing. Like, I get to go to all these events, and, you know, I don't know. I didn't think much of it at the time.
So what did iBUYPOWER demand of you as players? You know, this to me is super important to tell the full story, because, yeah, you're in an organization. Crucially, you're not salaried. And we were at a stage at that point, 2014, people were getting salaries.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not amazing salaries that can be seen now, for sure, but people were getting good living salaries for playing Counter-Strike, just not in NA. And you guys were considered the best team in NA, couldn't get a salary. And on top of that, you know, as I said, I saw you guys practicing all of the time. Did the organizations ever, like, did iBUYPOWER ever say, we need, like, you know, a minimum of 4 hours practice a day, we need you to do these public appearances?
So there were no like minimum, like they didn't tell us how much or how little we should practice. I think there was expectations that we would perform to a certain level, but there was never like, you need to play this much and we're going to be keeping track of it. I think that's just something that we did on our own accord, just because Days is a perfectionist, I'm a perfectionist, and then the rest of the guys are, pretty big nerds like the rest of us. So like AZK, he always plays games. Swag, he was always playing games. Skadoodle, he was playing games when he needed to. So because he worked at the time as well. He worked part-time, and I think he was doing some construction gig. So, he would be on for practice and everything. I don't know, I know he doesn't like playing pugs, so I don't know how much time outside of team practice he would play. But, we grinded pretty hard because that's what we wanted to do, and we wanted to be, the best. There was no expectations imposed by iBUYPOWER, and, even when we went to boot camps, our manager was there, but he was kind of, hands-off in a way. He would kind of mediate. If we needed to have a team talk, he would mediate it. And we would go to him if we had specific issues, but he would never be like, okay, this is the time you have to play more, or you have to start doing this a little bit more. In terms of sponsor obligations, I would do a vlog at events with our manager. He would just record it, and I would do some vlog type stuff. But in terms of other sponsor obligation, there were no sponsors. There was vendors. So if I'm doing an interview, at the end of the interview, I would say thank you to the vendors that we had. How
much good do you think you guys did at the time for the iBUYPOWER brand? Because I didn't really, 2014, they were there. You knew of them. Yeah. You saw them at some esports events, but them having a team seemed to be a huge step into that Counter-Strike consciousness, right?
I think iBUYPOWER had more value out of streamers than they did out of sponsoring our team. For example, Summit was. This is when Summit was still much smaller than he is now, but he was still one of the biggest streamers at the time. So he was pulling maybe 5,000 viewers at the time, and they sponsored him, and people bought iBUYPOWER computers using his code way more than the people did using the team's code for the iBUYPOWER CS team. So I. Definitely. And then what do they pay him? I think at the time they gave him a computer, and that's it. The computer he streamed on. They gave him that, and he was on a trial, and they didn't even pay him salary at the time. That's how small streaming was. That's how small CS was. That's how small everything was. And he was selling more computers than us as an entire team were. So I don't think iBUYPOWER saw the ROI in having a pro team, and that's why they probably never after us got another team.
So you're in the team, you're iBUYPOWER, you're doing your thing. A lot of people are saying, this is a team that can mix it up with the Europeans. Didn't always work out that way when you guys played each other. But tell me about what's happening inside of the team in the build-up to that fateful day. Is it a good environment? Are you guys happy? Are economic realities starting to hit home? What's going on collectively as a group?
So this is we're doing well domestically. We're the best team. We always shut out all the other teams. I think we had an undefeated season in ESEA.
ESEA, that's right.
SIVA we're doing well in. Internationally, I don't remember what events we had been to internationally at the time leading up to it, because it happened in August, right? I joined the team in April or May. So there's June, July, August. Not much time has passed. We haven't done too many events. It was okay. We're doing well, but was I fitting into my role that much? Not really. Were we friendly out of game? Not really. We had different personalities. We had different interests. So none of us were really super friendly outside of the game. I remember we were in Montreal for there was a qualifier for, I think it was, I don't remember what the qualifier was for, but it was for an international event, maybe even ESL in Cologne. There's a qualifier for that or something. I honestly don't remember, or ESWC, it was an ESWC qualifier, sorry, in Montreal. I remember we went out, and it was the first time Days actually, through all the teams I'd been with him, it's the first time he didn't go straight back to the hotel after an event. So he came out with us, and Skadoodle, Swag, AZK, they really come out of their shells if there's, well, not Swag. He drank Mountain Dew, but the rest of us would have some drinks, and, we'd come out of our shells, and we'd be friendly. And it's something that we never saw, if we're just, sober. So it was a different experience. And it made me realize that when I played with other teams, like if I played with Twerk, for example, when I was out with like TCK, Monty, Frost, Mo. Yeah. Like we had a good time. We were able to like laugh and joke about things outside of the game. We were able to go and do things. Like we'd go out and actually do things. But iBUYPOWER, that wasn't there. So like already at this time, I'm like, you know what? I'm not having as much fun as I think we had, and like we're the best team, but I'm not like having the greatest of times. And then we went to ESL 1 in Cologne in Germany. That was the major. We had VP and Fnatic in our groups, and that's when I started really doubting my spot on the team, because I'm like, I remember at the time, this is when Cobblestone and Overpass first came out.
Yep.
And none of the
North original version of Cobblestone as well.
The original version of
fucking
both
garbage.
maps. Overpass was fucking terrible too. Yeah. I remember I had to do a 30-minute video with Cotton to get them to change it and update it. Anyways, so those maps came out, and we were still like on the old version of Mirage in North America. So we're deciding like what maps are we going to veto, what maps are we going to practice, and you know, in North America we can't get practice for Overpass or Cobble because none of the teams are playing it. There's no reason for them to. It's only in the major. And, you know, we were uncomfortable in Mirage as well. It's hard to find practice on the new Mirage. So we're deciding, like, what maps we want to veto. I said we should just play Mirage because we're at least familiar with it, and veto Cobble and Overpass because we aren't going to get practice on it. But Daze was like, you know, no, I think we should take a 50-50 coin flip on Cobblestone, and we should ban Overpass and Mirage because they're going to beat us in Mirage. We have no idea what the fuck's happening on Overpass. So let's leave Cobble in, take a 50-50 because the other team shouldn't know what they're doing either. And that's when I'm really starting to consider, like, I don't think this is a good idea, and I think it's going to end up biting us in the ass. And what happened is we got Fnatic on Cobblestone. We had no idea how to play the map. We had no idea how they played the map. They ended up pushing like JW into like there was like a tower on CT side of the map. CT side of middle that you could go up a ladder and be in there. They ended up pushing that every round. They played 4 towards B. And this is before B had like a big platform that you could just run out and just hide on and take these aim duels. This is when you came out of a fucking 2x4 choke point. Like, so you're just like running out into your deaths, and we're fucking dying every round to four of them. No, actually I remember Olaf was jumping up into his Olaf spot. So it wasn't the choke point, but still there was no like stairs at the platform. Yeah. So I remember, like, I had no idea how to play the map. None of us had an idea how to play the map. We didn't have strats for it, and we ended up running into their 4-man B stacks every round, and we ended up losing. And right there, I'm just, like, so fucking pissed off. Fuck, actually, I left out. Leading up to this event, we had played another event just a week prior. Was it Gfinity? I think it was Gfinity.
Maybe. Might have been one of the very early ones, yeah.
I think it was Gfinity. So we had an event at Gfinity, and we didn't do as well as we had hoped. We got 5th to 8th place. Mm-hmm. We got out of groups narrowly, but we got 5th to 8th place overall. I think we outplaced Complexity there again. So Thorn, as much as he wants to bag on about how they had better international results, they actually only outplaced us, if I'm not mistaken, at one event, and that was the major. Everything else, we outplaced them or beat them head-to-head. Anyways, so we got out of that. We have a week-long...
Yeah, you're right. Gfinity, G3. Well remembered, sir.
So we have a week-long boot camp at the Gfinity offices before Cologne. And a few days into this boot camp, we have like 7 days of boot camp, and Days set out like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to play like all this time, and we're going to do this. And then a few days into it, I'm like, we need to do something else. Like, we need to start studying demos. We need to do this. And at the time, like, his calling was very like tunnel vision. So the team and I, we had a discussion. We're like, you know what? Let's have Steel call leading up to this. So the last like 2 or 3 days of the boot camp, I'm calling, everything's looking good, but we're spending all of our time scrimming and none of our time actually reviewing demos and seeing how our opponents are playing. So when we get to the major, we're playing Cobblestone, and I don't know how to fucking play the map. I don't know how to call on it. So Daze calls that map against Fnatic. We lose that. We get Cobblestone again, the random 33% chance. We get Cobblestone again against that team. We beat them on it. We play against Virtus Pro, the team that won the last fucking major. We play them on cash. Well, we didn't prepare against Virtus Pro, and our cash we felt was good enough, so we never practiced it at the boot camp. So I hadn't called or practiced calling at the boot camp on cash leading up to the major. So I'm like, all right, well, I haven't called on it. The last time we played this map, you called it, and the last time we played Virtus Pro was on this map, and you were calling. So it makes sense if you call. So Days called that map, and that's when Snacks just started fucking just dicking us hard. So we ended up getting shit stomped out of the tournament. And it's at that point that I'm like, we don't hang out ever, like, together. After the game, Days always goes back to the hotel. AZK is pretty introverted. Swag's introverted. Skadoodle's introverted. I'm not really enjoying my time on the team. I don't have the control over the team that I need to. Even if we're calling, like, if Days is calling strats and I have, like, a good idea or suggestion, I'll suggest it to him, and he kind of tunnel visions. So I didn't like my role as a support player. I wasn't really comfortable in doing it. I always felt like I needed to do more and have more impact on the team. So I wasn't playing as well as I could because I wasn't having fun. I'm in an uncomfortable role. The last time I played competitive CS, I was a full-time opera. I'm trying to transition back into rifling. So all these things are kind of weighing on me. And at that time, I'm just like, you know what? I think I'm going to leave the team. So we lose the tournament. I think it's like a Saturday maybe that we lost the tournament. This is ESL 1 Clone, the major. Mm-hmm. We have like all of Saturday to like sit there and do nothing and ponder. I was casting one of the matches with Tosspot. Sunday happens. There's nothing happening. We fly home on the Monday. We're jet lagged. We haven't touched a PC since the Saturday. We have this stupid fucking online match for SIVO. We're already like 15-1 in the league. Online fucking match. We have the first seed going into some playoff thing. We're playing season. When was the last time we fucking played season? We've just been in Europe for like 2 weeks. None of the teams there play season. So what the fuck? Like, we're playing this team. We look at CSGO Lounge, 80% odds on us to win a map that we haven't practiced in weeks. After a tournament we just bombed out of. We're all emo as fuck. We don't even want to play the match, let alone fucking, try hard.
Okay. So right, here's the thing. That'll look good when we cut it together. It's the dog appears on your lap. So here's the thing. I get all that, right? You've come back, you're pissed off, you're upset. Explain to me why you're looking at gambling odds.
Okay,
why would that ever occur to a professional player?
Okay, so to touch on other points I'd made previously, we weren't salaried. We weren't really making a whole lot of dough, and some people it's hard to make ends meet. Swag, he had his issues that you've outlined before. AZK, he dropped out of high school so he could play in the CGS. He wasn't old enough for it, and then the CGS died, so he like committed his life to CS at the time. I committed my life to CS at the time. I had like moved to Europe, been fucked around by that. Mo used to tease me all the time, like when he'd stream, he'd like committed his life to the game and failed. Like he used to do that shit all the time to tease me. Yep. We had suffered through bullshit from we had like ESEA was the only league at the time, really. Like there was SIVO as well, but no one really cared about it. ESEA, we'd been fucked by countless times. Like one of the seasons, we weren't allowed to add our 5th player to the roster because someone joined a roster, left the roster, rejoined the roster, and used up one of our 4 spots. So we were forced to use a manager for the whole season. Then we tried to add the player for the LAN, and they didn't allow us. So Days dodged the LAN. He took a season ban. We took like I had like a 2-week ban because I intentionally like delayed a match too long or something, and then like because they have an automated system, like the match like it fucked up. We couldn't like ready up or something, so like we had like a week or 2-week long ban for that shit. Sponsors fucking us, and then there's all this DDoSing bullshit because of CS:GO Lounge too. So if it's not individual players getting DDoSed, it's full matches getting DDoSed, so that the match would be canceled and people would get their bets refunded. And this has been happening for a couple of months at this point, where it's just like every night you're trying to play one match and it's a best of one, and you're sitting there for like 2 hours, and then the server keeps going down and the players keep going down, and then you get up and you're ready to go, and then it's just at the end of it, you just reschedule the match for the next day, and then the same shit happens the next day. So play one match, it takes like 3 days to fucking do it.
I know at that time as well, by the way, I always used to see players who come out and go, all we want to do is finish the game. Players were leaking IPs.
Players were leaking IPs.
Players were leaking IPs, so the game would get DDoSed, get cancelled, and they get to play it at another time because they were going to lose. That definitely, inarguably, was happening.
And this is why a lot of people disliked Shazam at the time and still do, and not many people remember this. He was actually leaking IPs. He was in bed with Mika at the time. it was shady joining anybody's Mumble, because if you join their Mumble and they have admin, they get your IP. This is when Skype, you could just resolve an IP via Skype, just having the username and going to you go to your browser, you type Skype IP resolver, you type in their username, you get their IP. So if people weren't behind proxies, people got fucked. Individual players got DDoS all the time, and it was impossible to finish a match. Why? Because CSGO Lounge was fucking operating, and everyone was betting, and everyone was getting pissed off that they were losing their bets. So it was just fucking up everything for months leading up to this. And it's not just my team, it happened to every fucking team. Every team I wanted to watch play, every team maybe I wanted to fucking play Spets, and I was doing that. I was pretty open. Like I don't know if I tweeted it or I think I was tweeting. No, you did.
I remember you saying that you were betting, and I remember even thinking to myself at the time, someone's gonna have to come out and put a rule on this, because there's no sport in the world where the professionals can bet. On the outcome of their games or any game in the sport.
So that's another thing that people keep bringing up. Well, in other sports, this and that. And it's like, well, I don't follow other sports ever, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you know, this is shady.
Yeah, I know it's immoral, but I don't know. Like, it sounds naive, but I didn't know the impact that this is betting on myself at the time. So I'm betting on myself to win. And I don't know this Pete Rose thing. I don't follow traditional sports. I don't know a thing about match fixing. All I know is it's shady, it's unethical, it's immoral. I shouldn't do it. But I don't know the impact it's going to have on other people. I don't know, like, even betting on myself is immoral or shady practice. I'm like, why? I'm betting on myself. Like, what's the problem with that? I'm ignorant to it. I'm naive, if you will. So we come back from ESL in Cologne. We're pissed off. Matches are always fucked up. This betting shit's happening. We don't necessarily agree with it. Why is it allowed to operate? How come no one stepped in and done anything about it? Well, if this has been going on for all these months and no one's done anything about it, maybe nothing's going to happen about it. Oh, we have 80-20 odds. So that's when we're approached. And Days raises the subject. Do we want to do this?
So who approaches? This is super important.
Days,
right?
Days
because there's two schools of thought here. And this is where even I'm a little bit fuzzy on the details. Okay. So it seems to me that you guys were aware of gambling and were aware of odds and were aware that money could be made. Right. So is it you guys being aware of that, you put it out into the ether, hey guys, we've got a meaningless game. We've got a meaningless game coming up where the odds were overwhelming favorites.
Yeah.
Or did somebody come to you first, I would imagine, or one of his colleagues, or Deborn, and say, hey, you've got this game? Because those two things are very fucking different.
So we were, I was approached, but it wasn't like approached in that sense. It was every team at the time. I feel like maybe not every single one, but a lot of teams and players were joking about it and talking about it and saying maybe we should do this. Like other teams are doing it. Maybe we should do it. It seems like no one cares. No one's doing anything. The tournaments are getting fucked. They're not all their games are listed on the lounge. They're not telling the lounge to fuck off. All the tournaments want all the games broadcasted. We can't play off stream for anything. That's why they're continuously fucked. So it was an idea that we had already known about, but we never considered actually fulfilling it and going through with it.
So you were approached specifically. So,
Not me. Days approached us as a team. I don't know if it was if we're in Mumble. I remember that there was WhatsApp blogs 20 or 30 minutes before match time, and that's when Days was saying okay, so I spoke to Derek, who's Deborn, and he said that he's got 7 accounts he can put the skins on, and this is what the cut it would be a 7,000. I don't know if $7,000. I think it was 1,200 in skins each of us, and then we'd get $700 each out of it. So it was 6 people, the 5 of us plus Deborn, and it was 7,000 in skins, so it was 1,200 each. And Days was like, okay, this is how it's going to work. Deborn's going to place the bets for us. He has these accounts, and then he'll transfer us the skins to alternate accounts. So we all created an alternate account so that we could get the skins and receive them on some offshore thing, right? So this
nothing's offshore on Steam, by the way.
So I remember that it's WhatsApp because we had 2 different WhatsApp groups, one with our manager Impulsive and one without. And Days put it in the one with Impulsive in it, but he said something like, "Okay, Derek said he can do it," and the impulsive's name's also Derek. So we just like, I messaged in the other group. I'm like, dude, you just messaged that to Impulsive.
Jesus
I'm just
Christ.
like, Jesus fucking Christ. Impulsive at the time, I don't know if he kind of had an idea, or like if he just was ignorant, or like he's like, what the fuck is this message? Like maybe it's something completely unrelated. So I don't think he had any idea at the time. And then so the information presented to us as a team was, Dave's like, yeah, Deborn can do this for us. He has the accounts. All we have to do is just fucking throw it, and he'll place the bets for us, and that's it. So that's the information.
Do you know who approached Dazed? Because here's the thing.
I do not know.
This is important because Sam never's clarified this. If Sam is the guy who goes out and asks, then Sam probably has to take a heavier slap on the wrist than everybody else, because he actively sought to throw a game. If somebody comes to him, I think there's an argument to say, well, we were tapped up.
So this is the tricky thing. I don't know, but at any time I asked him, even after the fact, whenever I asked Daze, I said, did you tell Casey Foster? He says no. I don't know if I believe that, though. Because someone told Casey Foster, and then Casey Foster told Shazam, because Casey and Foster and Shazam were buddy-buddy. They did the netcode shit all the time, and Casey Foster likes to talk. Shazam likes to talk. And I think that's how it got out, because Daze and Casey Foster co-in netcode guide. So I think Daze told Casey Foster, because that's their relationship.
I'll tell you another thing, how it got out from my perspective was watching the game. I mean,
that too, yeah. So this is another thing that kind of fucks us. So at the time, like I said, like we can't be too obvious about this, but like at the time, like we were actually considering switching me to opping, and the reasons for this was because I said like Skadoodle's just way too passive, and he never goes. And to this day, he will never fucking go and make an aggressive play on his own. He'll need to be told if he does anything aggressive, it's either in a clutch or someone's telling him, Skadoodle, go here and go get a fucking pick. And if you don't tell him that, he's just going to sit there like a turret, and he never moves. And I said, a lot of the time that we're getting fucked is because we don't have an op that just takes control and goes and does something. I opt full-time for MTW. Let me try this. And that just happened to be the first fucking game that we tried it on.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. With that said, I don't know if you remember the game in your mind. I
remember the round where I had the op and I was behind two of the guys.
Yeah, and you, I mean,
question?
Yeah, you come on. You deliberately missed. You're laughing about it.
So,
like, if you're the guy who's saying we can't make this obvious.
This is what's so fucked about the situation, right?
Right.
They were running towards A together to do a retake, and I was behind them. They both suddenly turn around to save, halfway running like to A. They just stop and turn around. And I'm just like, fuck, dude, who do I shoot? And I just fucking whiff, dude. It's so embarrassing, but that's the honest truth. I pull up my CZ, I get one of them, I die. What do I say? I tried to knife. I don't know.
Why the fuck would you ever say that?
I don't fucking know.
Act angry.
I'm an idiot. I'm a fucking idiot.
No one's saying idiocy here. But again, this is what I mean. It's such a poorly enacted conspiracy.
I know.
You know?
I know. Maybe I'm not cut out to be a criminal, dude. I don't fucking know.
You fucking ain't. But, I just don't get why. Why not act angry? Bang your fists. Rage a little bit. Like, sell it. You were an actor. You went to drama school.
I wasn't on stream at the time, though.
Yeah, but you can hear you. You can in the VOD. You do overall.
Oh, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing. You didn't even have to press a button.
Right. I don't know then.
You didn't type anything, but you can hear you like laughing, going like.
Wait,
on the VOD.
On the VOD.
Yeah. I'm
like
sure.
So I did type in game.
Yeah, I think you typed in game. I tried the knife or something, or you might have even said I tried knife. But there's definitely audio of you as well during that moment, and this is what I mean. It's like completely.
Okay.
This is why,
I don't remember that.
So when I first showed it to people, I was like, does anybody think that these guys are playing seriously here? And the response was always the same. They're just not trying. That's not the same as throwing.
Right.
And I suppose there's an element of truth in that,
Right. But remember, throwing is fine as long as you're not betting on yourself to lose.
Yeah, I guess. But apparently that's the rule. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's That's how it happened, and that I didn't know like the other details of the situation until I read the text from Deepborn, and then I'm like, oh shit, dude! Like this is shit I didn't even fucking know about it.
Yeah.
But
well, to be clear about Deepborn, right? Derek was fucking heavily involved. He was doing fixes in fucking Chinese games and all.
I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, I think
I didn't even know who Cud was. I didn't even know who Cud was.
So let's talk about again. This is something that I've always wanted to really get to the bottom of.
Right.
Skadoodle obviously is the last man standing.
Right.
You don't have to say anything here, but okay. I'm just gonna say what I believe based on all of the investigation I did. There is no way Skadoodle didn't know you guys were throwing. There's no way you insulated him from that. He knew. He knew that you were meant to lose that game. Yeah?
Well, you said I didn't have to say anything.
You don't have to. But it'd be good if you did. It'd be good if you told the truth.
I mean, he knew.
Yeah.
Like, we were all part of the conversation. We were all in the WhatsApp group. Like, he knew.
So, there's this perception. And again, I think this is super important to your case. Not your case, but the iBUYPOWER case, right?
Sure.
There's this perception that he didn't take the skins because he didn't want to throw the game, and I think in interviews and stuff that came out when you guys were still scrambling to get the truth out there, I think people wanted to insulate Skadoodle from any possible fallout because it was clear he'd gotten away with it somehow, and people were saying, "Oh, Skadoodle didn't want to lose. Skadoodle was really trying in that game. It was just us four." There's no way. There's no way in how a team operates that four people could keep a secret from one player like that. No way. Especially given you communicated via text, you communicated via WhatsApp, you communicated via Mumble.
Epsilon did that, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. Well, no. But no. But no, nobody does that. You can't do that. That's my point. You cannot do that. There's no team functions that way. So this is why I think it's interesting, because just because Skadoodle didn't take the skins, and the only reason he didn't take the skins is because there was some waiting period before more skins were released, and he said, "I'll go last."
Right.
That could have been any of you. That could have been any of you, and you would have all been guilty of agreeing to throw that game. He looked out taking the skins last. True.
I don't know. The only thing I've heard was from what AZK said in that when the skins were like he was ready to be transferred the skins, you had already broken your story, and he's like, "Nah, dude, I'm good." That's the only thing I've heard. I don't personally. So you saved Skadoodle. You saved one out of 5. That's my understanding, but I never had that conversation with Skadoodle. I never had the conversation with everyone else. From my understanding, we're all supposed to be on it. We're all supposed to be cut in, and D1 was supposed to send it to our alternate accounts. That was my understanding of it. I don't know the specifics of that situation.
Did you sell the skins?
I gave them back to Deborn so that he could sell them for me, because at the time I had no idea. So I had 2 people that sold skins for me from like all the bets that I was doing. It was either Deborn or Verizon, because they were selling skins themselves. So I'm like, you can sell my shit and then I'll give you a cut of it. You can take like 5% or whatever. You just keep it. Just be my middleman. And they sold it. They gave me the money, and I was happy with that. Did
you know about Inner Circle?
What's Inner Circle? Is that was that Deborn Circle?
No, that's Verizon.
Oh, he was fixing games too?
I'm not saying fixing, but he had a website called innercircle.cz.
I didn't know that, no.
And I'm not saying they were involved in throws, but they certainly used to regularly
knew about them?
Well, what they used to do is they used to regularly tap at players for information. So Inner Circle CZ was basically like a dragnet of people who would associate with pros, some pros themselves or mid-tier players. And every time there was a game coming out, they would go to players, "Hey, how do you feel about your game tonight? Because you got pretty good odds." And then they would say, "Oh, well, actually, the AWPers got flu, or we're using a stand-in," and nobody knew about that. And then they would go place their bets, and then eventually the information would come out. Yeah,
right. That makes sense. I didn't know that site existed, but I definitely understand that, because people ask me that, and I also ask other people. Because if I'm looking at betting on a team, I would do the same thing. I'd say, like, is there anything happening internally? Like, is anyone not going to be present for the match? Because it's another thing. Like, sometimes you just have like the game would go live and there's a substitute, and it's like, well, your bet's locked in. Sorry, you got to play with the fucking team's manager. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. So absolutely, I understand that.
So let's talk about the timing. Let's talk about me putting my story out. I'm gonna tell you something. This might surprise you.
Sure.
I'm trying to think back as to why, like, what motivated me initially put that story out. Because obviously,
you had the Shazam logs.
Yeah, and that was what I got first. But here's the thing, you know, I had logs from other teams. I had screenshots from other players throwing games, European players exclusively, high-level European players, some that are still playing pro today. It felt thin. It didn't feel like enough to publish. I published that story, I think, because it was an incidental conversation. It was only happening in CEVO. It looked like one game. And I honestly thought when I published that, I thought, here's what'll happen. You guys will go, all right, fucking blabbermouth Shazam strikes again. We threw that game. We weren't trying to win. CEVO come in and ban you for a season of CEVO. That's it. I get my journalistic pat on the back, and we all just go back to normal, right?
So,
but it was my way of firing a shot across the bow, because I knew there was all these pro players out there fixing. Right, yeah. And I was saying to people, guys, you got to stop betting full fucking stop. Well, what, on our games? No, at all. Guys, seriously, this is only going to end one way. I was watching players get addicted to gambling and having gambling problems.
I mean, there were fucking kids doing it all the time.
Yeah, all the fucking time. So I was like, if I publish one story on the Daily Dot, I got a good reputation. People will see this and go, oh, it's going to get out. CEVO slap you on the wrist, and it makes people think twice. Right. But nobody gave a fuck. That story went out. I was a scumbag.
So this is something that kind of irks me to this day. So you put out the story, and then, like, us as a team, we decide, you know what, we're just going to deny this. Anytime someone asks, we just deny it. All of us deny. We just say on the same story, we're just going to deny it. Days went on to Summit's fucking stream and had that shit where he was like talking shit about you and basically slandering. People say that Steel and Days did that. I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't even do that.
I mean, you did once on your stream say I was, what was it, an old liar just trying to be relevant or something. I think you said that. That's all right though.
So
you're fighting for your life. I get it, right?
This is the problem though. So Swag, AZK, Skadoola, they didn't stream. I did. So I got asked all the questions. I'm just like, no, it didn't happen. Maybe I said like one thing. But Days went on like a full like 30-minute interview and said that. And I'm like, fuck, what the fuck is he doing? Like, I feel like you had kind of like not like a vendetta, but like you were kind of had to prove yourself that you weren't a liar, that you were.
Yeah, I'll admit it. I'll admit it. I mean, if that interview with Summit doesn't happen, and I'm not getting DDoSed and death threats and being called,
I don't think you pursue it if Days doesn't do that interview.
Not to that degree. No, I think I probably could have shrugged it off, and it would have been next time I'd seen you, I'd have gone, yeah, you got away with one, mate. Don't lie to me, and that would have been the end of it.
Well, I remember when you were like asking me on Skype, you're like, tell me the truth. And I thought you were just like baiting me to say something. You're recording it, so I'd tell you. I'm just like, I can't. Like, we have to take it to our graves, right?
Yeah, I get it. That's how you have to be with any criminal endeavor. Just, you know. So look, initially it looks like you've got away with it.
Right.
Right. Now I know you like to read books, Josh.
I read so many books.
Yeah. So Edgar Allan Poe, The Telltale Heart, right? Great short story. One of the best short stories ever written, if not the exemplary short story, about a man driven mad by guilt after a murder. You know this one? And the heart's under the floorboards, and he can hear it beating. Yeah. He's buried the body. The heart's under the floorboards, and he can hear it it just beating. And eventually he confesses to the crime because he's driven mad by his own guilt. Of course, it's all in his mind. So you get away with it initially. Right. It looks like you're in the clear. What do you do at that point? Because some people might be emboldened, right? Some people might, well, fuck it. No one does anything. Gambling, skins gambling's just, we're going to get away with it, so let's do it. Let's go play some more bets. Let's throw some more games. Let's just live the fucking dream because we got away with one. Sure. So what happened?
We just continue playing, and we just try to like brush it under the rug and pretend it never happened. That was our hope. Like just don't talk about it. Just keep playing, keep our heads down, and it'll be forgotten. And then like hopefully like we can get away with it, and people will stop bringing it up. Like that was our initial reaction. Like let's just keep our heads down and try to like avoid it as much as possible.
And then Deborn texts his girlfriend.
Well, Deborn texted his girlfriend like almost immediately, and then she, because she's fucking psycho too, screenshotted it immediately and uploaded it immediately as soon as he texted, and then he ended up cheating on her or something. So he cheated on her, and then she is basically like a revenge thing, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely it was. We went to a lot of efforts to verify those texts as genuine as well, because that was the other thing.
Didn't she send you the phone, like the actual physical phone?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh Jesus!
I don't. Yeah, so it was. You know, we had to check phone numbers, phone record. It was insane. It was insane because I knew those people forget this. I didn't get those texts initially. They went up on an ESEA forum thread. They
went out, and nobody looked at it, and it was on Imager that entire time. And then they sent it back to you in like end of November, December. Someone like raised the thread from the dead.
Yeah, it was already out there. It's not like anything I did. I didn't unearth anything. All I did was verify it was true and give it a platform. And then, of course, after that, Shazam came out under the advisement of Jack.
C9.
Yeah, and said
overnight suddenly he grows a conscience.
But you know, his testimony was accurate. But right. I mean, one of the big questions after all of this is he placed a bet on you guys. Right. And he did it, or rather on the other team. No,
he placed a bet on the other team and then switched it to us when he found out.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of people say Shazam should have got penalized for this because he used the information to bet. Anyway, he didn't tell anyone. He didn't report it to the league. He didn't report it to any journalists. He didn't do anything about it. What do you think about that? Should Shazam have been penalized?
I mean, Shazam's been involved in shady shit. Do I think he should be penalized for that? Having the insider info and not reporting it to someone that could, you know, maybe put a stop to it. Maybe it could be argued that there should have been some sort of punishment. You know, something that fits his role in it, not some like permanent ban from everything and you have to live with this for the rest of your life and it's all that people can talk about when they talk about you. Not to that extent, but maybe like, you know, I don't know, maybe like some sort of restrictions or something else, or I don't fucking know. But I mean, he had insider info, and you know, the thing is, if I think back to it now in hindsight and retrospect with what I know today about match fixing, then I can say, yeah, he probably deserved to get a little bit of a punishment. But at the time, probably not. Like if you asked me back then when we got banned, does Shazam to be banned? Actually, I probably would have said, yeah, like fuck this guy. But I didn't think that we would get punished nearly as severely as we would, so I wouldn't expect him to get punished at all.
And I didn't think that either, right? I thought you guys would have got 2 years tops. That was like literally what I thought going in. Like the idea of a lifetime ban, no appeal, just based on what I produced, seemed so fucking outlandish.
So that, you know, I'll tell you something that I don't think has been said before.
Yeah, sure.
And I think this might have, but I don't know, played a part in Valve's punishment. It's that so I didn't have direct conversation with Valve, but DayZ did, and they asked us like what happened and to give like a story of our events, and we basically lied to them, and I think that's what fucked us. And in that we said Skidoo had nothing to do with it, and he didn't know anything about it because he didn't receive any skins. So we're like, fuck it, like we'll say like Skidoo had no idea, like nothing happened. He has no idea. Like I think his response was like, I don't know about any throw. Like I had no parts in any discussions. That's it. And then the rest of us were like, well, Deborn owes us money for various things, and because he has like a gambling issue. He did have a gambling issue. He was in debt, and he was trying to like pay it off. So what did we do? He placed the bets, and then he was like he was paying us back for whatever.
Here's the thing though, like I felt you were on the, you know, you were borderline about to come clean. I really, I could tell.
Yeah.
Knowing you and why you'd lie to Valve of all people, knowing
I know that
they can trace the fucking skins.
We were naive, we're ignorant, and we didn't think that Valve was going to get involved, is what happened. Like, we wanted to just deny everything to the grave, is basically what we had decided. And we're like, this is, like, we're just going to fucking deny it all. It'll blow over. Valve's not interested. They don't care. I don't think we believed that Valve was getting involved. And when you were talking to me in that private conversation, I thought that you were just, like, baiting out a response, because I was like pretty paranoid in that regard. And, in hindsight, I wish I had told you the truth. Would it have changed anything? Probably not. Would have, being straight up with Valve changed anything? Probably not. But
I don't know. I really don't know.
I guess we'll never know. Know, though.
Honestly, though, like, it might. I agree with you. I think that's probably the point where it's like, well, we gave these guys a chance. You could have said anything. You could have said, look, these guys approached us. We agreed to do it. We're really dumb. Maybe Valve doesn't ban you for life at that point. Because they'd had it in Dota before,
we didn't know about the Dota instance at the time, and no one said, oh, by the way, this happened in Dota. It's like, well, we didn't throw, so why the fuck do we care about this? Like, no one's going to approach us. I think a large part of our of why we acted the way we did is because Valve was so hands-off about everything leading up to that point. And even just with CSGO Lounge in general, just letting it operate, third-party, unregulated, letting kids gamble on it, matches getting DDoS left, right, and center, fucking bullshit happening all over the scene, other corrupt bullshit happening in the scene with sponsors, with tournaments, with everything happening that's bullshit. And Valve was so hands-off in that. Why would they suddenly get involved? So when people were telling me, like, Valve's going to be involved and Valve's going to be, like, pissed off, I'm just like, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it, and that's why I acted the way that I did. So
there's that fateful day. I didn't just have private conversations with you. I would have reached out to Dazed, because obviously I knew Sam. Going right back to the Counter-Strike Source days, done loads of interviews with him. He was always a cool guy.
I remember you when it happened hard on him.
Yeah, because I felt I did feel that he was like, whether we wanted to accept it or not, he was like a fucking leader in NACS. And it was like he never wielded that influence responsibly for my money. So it's kind of like being the teacher that the kid's smart enough to be top of the class and he isn't. Sure. So you come down harder on him than the dumb kid because, your expectations are different. But I mean, I always liked Sam. For real. I thought he was a cool guy. And I did try to reach out to him, but the moment it happened, he removed me from Steam, removed me from all chat programs. Right. So I couldn't even reach out to him and been like, look, dude. But I reached out to you. I reached out to Hiko, because this is the next thing I want to talk about. Just before it comes down. Again, you guys must be thinking, fuck, man, we beat it. We beat the case. We're gonna join EG. And we're gonna bring
I didn't know about that at the time.
And we're gonna bring Hiko in for.
You told me that they were signing with EG and that EG had already torn up the contracts and everything when we had that conversation.
Yeah, because they, I don't know how the chain of command went, but MLG got wind of Valve investigating it somehow.
And told them to hold off because I was observing their event.
That might have happened. That might happen. Maybe. No, I mean, that's kind of fucked up.
But they knew what was happening, and I didn't, and I was working their event. It feels bad.
Yeah, that probably is okay. Fuck it, it happens. Fuck it. No lies here. And I told Hiko, I was like, listen, dude, if there's any way to unfuck your relationship with Cloud9, I think this is literally what I said to him. Go do that, because this is done. This is the bans are coming. It's in It's in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And he didn't believe me. He said, I've asked the guys about it. They all told me they didn't throw. So I'm going to believe in my teammates. I kind of felt sorry for him.
Yeah.
Because I think he felt the same thing you did, that I was trying to bait a response out of him. It was like, I'm a tape recorder. Ha-ha, caught you, like.
That's the thing, you never know. You never know these days. Like,
yeah, no, I get that. There's so many rats, dude. I get it. But then, it fucking happened. So let's talk about it, because it doesn't just cost. I mean, it costs you everything CS wise in that moment. Right. So I'd been up really late researching other throws, and I'd got so unhealthily obsessed with it. I was having problems with my girlfriend anyway. I don't know if you met her. Remember?
Yeah, she's the one that thought I was gay.
Yeah, she did. She did. She really did. She said you were the gayest straight dude she'd ever met. That's what she said. And I'm like, dude, I've seen him. I've seen him throw drinks on many a chick. He's all about that pussy.
Well, you're still the only dude I've ever kissed on the lips. So.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. I forgot about that. So anyway, you know, I was fucking up that relationship because I was like disappearing down this rabbit hole. We had other problems. She was like wanting to have kids, and I'm like,
I remember the yelling. I was in your house. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I can't. I'd rather cut my dick off. That was my official stance on it. I'd rather cut my dick off than have a child with you. She didn't take that too well. So I was throwing myself.
She said that.
Oh, I legit. That's what I actually said. And I didn't mean with her. I just meant I don't want a fucking kid.
Right.
I don't want it. I don't want that. This world's a fucking dystopian nightmare at the best of times, right? Who wants to be esports dad? You know, to all the esports dads out there, like, I think you're irresponsible. Go fuck yourself. So I'm sorry. That's just the truth. Not for me, right? So I said that, and we were having problems. And I was just, to get away from, you know, I had my own little office space. I would lock the door, and I'd take a bottle of whiskey in, and I'd sit up till 6 a.m. looking at betting patterns to find other teams that had thrown and fixed. So I slept in late. It was 5 p.m. when I woke up. I rose like, you know, Dracula from the tomb, and my Skype's got like 500 messages. My phone, you know, 200 texts. It was insane. I'm like, fuck, someone must have died. Like, someone must have died. So who is it? Who's died? Sit down, and there it is, of course, the announcement.
The blog.
So I didn't know what to think or feel in that particular moment. I think I recorded a video trying to look all nonchalant and like, told you. Yeah. Because I'd kind of got a little bit of reputation and respect back for myself. And I'll be honest, I kind of basked in it a little bit, which is kind of pathetic looking back.
Sure.
No, it is. It's true. I don't mind. I'll criticize myself. But what's going on at your end? Because we never talked about this. So what happens on that day? Like what's going on in Josh's world?
Here, I'll link you something right now, and maybe you want to take a screen cap of it for the edited version.
Okay.
So at the time, I'm trying to like just fucking bury this and move on, and just try to like be like, you know what? I'm just gonna move past this. This fucking blows. Maybe there's gonna be light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe like ESEA and SIVO, they don't ban me. This is just Valve thing. Maybe after a year, something changes. Maybe it's not indefinite. I recorded this video, good practices for observing in CS:GO, January 27th. I think the bans came out on the 25th or 26th. So this is like a day or two afterwards, and just look at like the difference between me then and then me now, for example. So it was.
I think Sam will be able to bring that up for us, so he can edit it and screenshot. Yeah,
so
look reamed out.
It was pretty bad. Like I've already suffered from depression for many years. I've been medicated for it before. I stopped medication. When was it? Maybe about. It was probably October last year. I'd come off it at two different times, and then like I came off it, went back on, came off it. Last time I came off was in November or October, because basically what it does, it's an SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So for those that don't know, depression, it can be caused environmentally or it's nature versus nurture debate. We don't know how much each plays into it, but there is a genetic factor involved, and it does run in families. So some people will be predisposed to it, and you know, even though it runs in the family, if they're in a good environment, they can get away with it. Some people, it's all environmental and not biology. It doesn't run in the family, but the environment can cause it. For me, it's a little bit of both. So without bringing too much detail up, you know, it does to an extent run in the family. So right there, I'm predisposed to it, and then it causes a chemical imbalance in the brain, and it fucks you up. Like you don't feel happy. So on the meds, like everything was kind of fuzzy. It doesn't make you happy. They're not happy pills. It's leveling pills. It brings you to a neutral, to a zero. So if you're feeling like shit, ultra shit, it helps you bring you to a zero. But at the same time, if you're feeling good, it brings you back down to a zero. So I didn't like being on it. That's why I came off of it. So I'd already felt like shit, and fuck me, I felt like even way worse than I had already felt. Like if you compare me to then, like me right now to then, and then me right now to like when I was living in the UK working full time. Working in the UK full time, I was probably like the happiest. Now I still feel like shit all the time. Like I have no motivation to do anything. It's all the bad shit. It's like low self-esteem, low confidence. I have anger issues as well. If people don't understand, like, oh yeah, I get mad when stupid shit happens. It's like, no, like angry to the point where you don't have any inhibition to stop you from doing something. Angry to the point where it's like, oh, I'm so angry. I just need to put my hand on this wall and just like rest for a second. And then your hand goes through it because you don't realize like that's what's happening. Like that's how angry I used to get. And you know, I'm not at that point right now. Like I haven't slammed shit for a few months now, so that's good. Sometimes I can go to the gym. I got a dog, that's helping out. So
yeah, actually, someone messaged me. This is just the random shit emails that I get. Hang on, let me find this for you. You'll appreciate this. Sure. Your good deeds have been observed, and maybe this will help you understand that, you know, not everybody fucking hates you. Where was it? All right, awesome. Thank you. So here it is. So somebody sent us this email and said, hey, Richard, I just wanted to share a quick story about an interaction I had with Josh Nissan in July 2016. He came to my workplace, a non-government animal shelter run by donations. He adopted Ruffy, a dog you see on his Instagram. I felt it was a bit symbolic with Josh's situation. Josh giving this abandoned dog a second chance at having a normal life. After he paid the adoption fee and for some preventative medication, he dropped an additional $1,000 donation to the shelter. If you ever interview him, you can ask him about his adopted dog. Like you said recently, we all make mistakes, and one mistake should never define a person forever. So
yeah.
So you know, you did good by the dog.
I did. He's a good guy.
So, listen, this is a dark question.
Sure.
You can tap out of anything you don't want to talk about.
Okay.
Suicide, right?
Never been on my mind.
Never?
Never.
Never.
Not worth it. No, like I would maybe be like, what would happen if I did, but never actually be like, let's think about ways, or let's like even start going through the steps of it. I think no matter how low I've been, I've never considered it to be like a proper option, because I've always held some level of optimism that it would get better. And like, I feel like I know the steps I need to take to get to that point. Maybe I'm still like punishing myself or whatever, but I don't feel like that would ever be an option. I don't think that's a good option for anyone.
But you talk about punishing yourself. How do you do that?
Well, like I studied psychology for a bit in university, and like I feel like I have a pretty good handle on my situation in terms of understanding why I'm at the place I'm at and how, like, the steps I can do to fix it. And I feel like, you know, getting a proper routine in my life, talking to like an impartial third party person, like just tell them my issues, just talking about issues helps a lot. Talking about things, understanding things, having like another perspective on things can help. So if I just said right now, like, you know what, I'm going to start going to a therapist once a week. If I do these steps, if I force myself to go to the gym, and if I force myself to go out with friends, and I build stability in my life, and like maybe I got like a real job instead of streaming where I roll out of bed, I'm on my PC, and there I am interacting with, like, you know, some people that are really appreciating me being there, and then a bunch of dickbags that want to just make me feel like shit. Like, I could get to a point where I would feel happy, but I just don't.
I mean, I did say earlier, right? Like I was watching the stream after it happened because that was my way of kind of checking in on you. I didn't really know if I was ever going to be able to talk to you again. Not because I didn't want to, but just because, like, if you decided you didn't want, it would make sense. And there was some very strange, like, occurrences. Like sometimes you were just super low and depressed, and it was very apparent. And you looked at, you looked like you hadn't slept in days. And then other events. Do you remember that incident where you raided some girl's Twitch or something, and didn't you get banned for like 48 hours or something?
I got a 24-hour ban because it was technically restreaming other streamers' content because I would take like a screen grab of their webcam and put it on my thing. And yeah, I was doing some pretty stupid shit where I'd go and like.
I mean, you were really manic. In that
pretty
stream.
fucked up. I was pretty fucked up. I didn't have much to ground me at the time, so I was, I don't know, just doing pretty childish shit.
So, what's the immediate plan when it happens? Like, how are you going to fill this void? Like, CS has been big part of your life, the biggest part in a lot of ways, and all of a sudden, it looks like it's not going to be there. People start to distance themselves from you. You said the observing work dries up. You're not going to be invited as a guest commentator. You can't play. No team wants to touch you. No sponsor wants to touch you. So what are you thinking in that moment in terms of filling the void? Like, is there any silver lining at that moment?
At that moment, I wasn't really thinking long term of anything. I was still trying to like figure out how do I like explain this to all my various family members and friends what I had done and the punishment and everything. I was still trying to just take things day by day and just kind of go with it. That was the only way I knew how to manage it. So yeah, that was it. Just take things day by day and just get one day over with.
Did you tell your family about that?
They knew about it. Like my dad brought it up like the next day. He knew it because he follows me on Twitter, and one of my brothers watches my Twitch stream. Whenever he's like playing games, he'll have it on a second monitor or something. So they knew about it, and they brought it up to me. But there's still other people.
How did that go?
He's like, my dad said, "I'm sorry." But I don't know. Like my family and I are like, when it comes to social interactions, a large reason why I'm socially retarded is because my dad's like a big computer science nerd. Right. So he never really knew how to, he still to this day doesn't really know how to talk to people. And it's like really funny watching him try to like, if he's greeting someone and they're like going in for a hug, he doesn't know like, am I supposed to go for a hug, a handshake, this, that, what am I supposed to do? He just looks ridiculous doing it. And it's really funny. And then my brothers and I have never like really had that closeness because it would like, we never learned it from our parents. So we don't know how to talk to one another. So when it happened, there's like, I couldn't confide in them. Like I couldn't just be like, yeah, this sucks. This is how I'm feeling. This is everything. I didn't talk to anyone at the time.
Right. So let's talk about the brief jaunt into Overwatch.
Sure.
This is when it looked like you were getting your shit together, right? I got to be honest. You said, that's it. I don't want to talk about CS. I think I'd reached out to try and interview you. You were like, no, I don't want to talk about Counter-Strike. Fuck Counter-Strike. I'm going to be pro in Overwatch. You started streaming Overwatch, started playing in Overwatch. So let's talk about that, because I think the thing that really kind of upset me the most was just when it looked like you were going to be given this like second chance in a new game. And I was like, yeah, he can make it as an Overwatch pro probably, from what I know about him. All that negative shit from Counter-Strike seemed to follow over into Overwatch.
So I had been planning for a while to like switch over to Overwatch, and I remember talking about like, okay, these are going to be my last CS events. And it was probably around like this time last year where I was doing my last like final local events in Toronto, playing with friends, just for like small prize pools. And then I decided like, okay, I'm going to have like this fresh start. Overwatch, I'm optimistic about it. I feel like I can do really good things. I was learning about the game, taking my time to like study the game. and I was given opportunities to watch, to like kind of be in the spectator slot for a couple of pro teams. One pro team in particular, and then that's the team I ended up joining after about a month because like a roster slot opened up, and then they asked me to just like hop in a game. They really liked how I approached the game and my teamwork and communication and everything that came with my work ethic. So I started playing that, and things were looking up. And then like I was practicing a lot for it, and then BlizzCon was happening, and there was like nominations for the BlizzCon World Cup, whatever. And then I was surprised to see that I wasn't on the list for nominations, even though like my rating was high enough and I was on a pro team and everything. Like, what's going on with that? And I heard through the grapevine that, you know, someone at Blizzard didn't like me, and lo and behold, my name's on that list. AZK's name isn't on the list. So it felt like there was like, you know, what I fucked up in another game is following me. And it's kind of a question of where does it start and end, where people can say like, you don't have any part of it. As a player, coach, analyst, caster, observer, does it extend to other games? Like, what am I allowed and not allowed to do? Like, I see some comments still to this day, like, oh, I wouldn't hire him at my work. It's like, well, okay, if I want to go and get like a proper job, does it follow me there? Like, if I want to work in IT, does it follow me there? So
it's kind of a tough one. I mean, look, first of all, just on what you heard from the grapevine, because I did say we'd talk about this. There's been a huge shift at Blizzard. Blizzard used to almost be close to Valve. They would be kind of hands off with their products, which is why you know, so many of them historically have kind of failed. Yeah, like WCS coming in too late, and this kind of thing with StarCraft 2. You know, even when they first made StarCraft 2, I remember interviewing Blizzard staff at the time, and they said, we don't really give a fuck about esports. We just want to make good games. Yeah. Now, of course, they're doubling down. They've seen the growth of esports, and they're like, oh, yeah, esports, everything's a fucking esport. And they can't even get basic things right. But there's been a cultural shift.
They got something right. Their RNG is amazing.
Yeah, they love a bit of fucking RNG. You're not wrong. But I talked. You know, I've still got sources over that way.
Yeah.
And absolutely, there's two things that was going on at the time. First of all, they didn't want any mention of any pros from other games,
right?
Because they like literally you can't talk about this. So if you were a Counter-Strike pro, you that's that. You were never a Counter-Strike pro. You've only ever played Overwatch. Same for all the TF2 guys. I used to do competitive TF2. I used to talk, you know, some of the TF2 guys are like, we're just jumping across to Overwatch for a money grab. We actually think it's a sick game, you know. And
most of them are still like that.
Yeah, I know.
Some would rather still be playing TF2.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't. It's a superior game in every way, in my opinion. But whatever. So there was that, right? Can't mention TF2. Can't mention these things. You guys politically, no chance. Like Blizzard was never going to sign off on you guys being allowed, because if it ever slipped out, let me tell you the degree that Blizzard go to police their broadcasts. Talent are told if they make a Harambe joke about Winston, that's that.
Shit.
Kaput.
Jesus.
Blizzard are going super fucking hardcore. I think they've watched the way Riot try and impose, because Overwatch is a very political game in the sense that, you know, they're trying to push that diversity stuff, and it's like, it's fine. I'm all right for it if it's organic writing, and I got no issues with diversity or anything. Seems to me, though, they're trying to make that the selling point of the game, and all the weebs and SJWs finally feel like they've got a game, and Blizzard are really taking great joy and pleasure in that. So any meme memes are off. You know, you can't mention Harambe. If anyone's done anything controversial in the past, you're out immediately. You're absolutely gone and dead. And this is why I can't even begin to fathom how AZK is still over there at Liquid, still plugging away.
Yeah.
That's
so I think for a large period of time, no one really knew exactly what Blizzard was doing with the game, and specifically their Overwatch League. Like we had this time last year, we had news in the grapevine, like Blizzard's planning a league. It's going to happen sometime in 2017. We don't know the format of it. We don't know how people are going to buy into the league. Is it going to be teams have to buy in? Is it going to be a draft where all the players are drafted? No one really knew exactly what was happening. Blizzard didn't even know what they were planning on doing. But at the time, I was pretty optimistic about the game. It felt like it was okay, and I could see like how it could be turned into like an esports game. And this was like back in the beta. I was still playing in the closed beta, and then the game's released, and there's still no spectator UI. There are no demos. So practicing and like learning from your team and learning from other teams, it's near impossible. If you want to watch that, you have to watch back like a VOD from a tournament game, and then you have the shitty caster camera, and you have to just follow whoever the caster at the time of that VOD was playing. You have to follow that play. You don't have like bird's eye view. You don't have like a mini map to see where everyone's positioned. You don't see all these little things. So as a player who's trying to get better and learn the game and pick it up when you're like a few months behind everyone else, it's very difficult. So on top of that, like those obstacles that I had, the team that I was playing with at the time, we got picked up by Splice eventually. We didn't have enough time to play because, you know, one person had work and he lived West Coast, so he'd get home from work at 9 o'clock Eastern, and someone else had to be in bed by like 11. So we were always like restricted. We played like 4 nights a week, 2 hours a night, or 3 nights a week, 2 hours a night. And it just wasn't enough for us to learn as a team and as individuals, as players, to kind of grow and reach our potential. And we had really good players on the team. We had like arguably the best medic from TF2, Pure. We had Clockwork, who's everyone regarded as like the best like fucking scout player. So we had like really talented players on our team, and we couldn't make it work because we didn't have enough time to play. And then like I was always saying, like we need to play more, we need to do this, we need more leadership with our in-game leader. So we didn't have an in-game leader really, and the in-game leader we had, like I'm used to in-game leading in CS, but I said like I don't feel like I know enough about Overwatch right now, and I don't know about strats or other teams. I don't feel comfortable as an in-game leader right now, but maybe in like a month or two I will get to that level. So someone else he was calling Flame, you probably know him, Matt Rod. Yeah. But I think he's more of like maybe an analyst than he is an in-game leader, because he doesn't have he has a worse temper than me. He gets really mad really easily, frustrated, and he didn't communicate his ideas properly, and I think that's still a struggle of his to this day. But as an in-game leader, like we'd be sitting there at the start of the game, you know, hero selection phase, and I'd be like, you know, 20 seconds are gone. I'm like, so am I going this character? And he's like, hold on, I'm thinking. I'm just like, fuck, dude. Like I'm just like, if like, you know, like what the fuck? So I'm just like, okay, well, all you have to do is say, hang on, I want to try something new. Let me think about it for a second. That's all you have to say. And then I don't ask a question, you don't get pissed off. Like it's that simple. So I never felt he was cut out to be a leader. And then like another example would be like, we'd be at like the second phase of a map, and he's like, anytime we're at the second phase of the map, go this hero. And so I do that. He's like, why do you go that hero? Like, why didn't you go this hero? They have this. I'm like, well, you said every time I do this. And, you know, I'll ask a question. I'll be like, do you still want me to go this character? And no one answers. So I just go that character, and then they bitch after the fact. And it's like, well, I can't learn properly if people don't just say straight up and be critical. And that's something I've always done in my other teams in CS. It's that if someone fucks something up, you tell them then and there. It's either one of two things. You tell them then and there. If you're going to be playing games the rest of the night and you don't have time to bring it up at another time, you tell them then and there, this is a problem and these are possible solutions. The other way that you go about it is you have more time and you say, okay, well, we have like these scrims, we're going to record it, we're going to take notes, and after these scrims, we're going to talk about everything that happened in these scrims before we play our next set of games. But we didn't have that luxury of that because we only played 2 hours a night. So we played games for 2 hours. That's how long the scrim blocks were. And then we wouldn't talk about anything. We'd go to bed, we'd play the next day, and we haven't gone over anything. So there's no learning there. So I always stress, like, just fucking tell me right then and there. I'm going to ask a question, and I need someone to just answer me. And if that doesn't happen, then I'm going to just make a judgment call. And if I'm wrong, I mean, that's what's going to happen. So you can either help and guide me through it, or we're going to be struggling for a long period of time.
Were you ever happy in Overwatch, though, dude? Because, like, again, I never saw that. I was watching you play, and it was almost like you were trying to convince yourself this is what you wanted to do.
I was trying to convince myself because I did have hope and optimism that it was going to get better. And I was hopeful that, you know, the situation could turn around. I saw AZK had already switched to that. I was enjoying that, you know, playing with my teammates. It was fun. I was learning something new, and I always like learning something new. I like pushing myself and challenging myself. So it was a kind of way to start fresh in a way. So I did convince myself, and, you know, playing ranked matchmaking, it was pretty fucking grim. Scrims were a little bit better, but I wasn't happy with the rate that I was learning. I wasn't happy with the rate that my team was progressing. I felt like we were regressing even because we'd have to start changing the roster up eventually. And then I had issues with the leadership. And then ultimately, I basically gave an ultimatum. It was kind of mutual. I wasn't performing as well as I needed to be. But at the same time, like there were many issues with the team. We didn't play enough. We didn't have a good leadership. We didn't have this. We didn't have that. So I basically said, like, I can't play like this. So either we get someone in for this guy or I'm gone. They chose to go with the other guy because he was the in-game leader. He was a flex player. They felt like they could get someone that could replace me more easily than him. And then after that, I still played. I still tried to like play with other people. I played with like Mendo Kusai. That was fun. I learned a lot playing with those guys, and I felt like I really improved as a player. But I mean, he left to join C9. And he was like pretty. He started playing less because his stream was getting bigger, and then even less because he had an opportunity with C9. So once he left, that's basically when I just gave up. I'm just like, fuck this. It's not worth it. The game is heading in a bad direction. Teams are heading in a bad direction. Yeah.
Do you think it's going to succeed as an esport?
Like at this point, I'm really not optimistic anymore because I still don't feel like the Blizzard devs know what they're doing with the game. And I feel like it's heavily catered towards the casual audience. And the reasons I have for that is I made a video, for example, about the balancing issues during closed beta or like early launch. I said, these are issues. And everyone that watched the video and all the comments on Reddit were basically saying, this is wrong, you're stupid, the devs know what they're doing. Yeah. Within a couple of months, I think 8 of the 10 issues I laid out were addressed. And then obviously no one's going to fucking go back and be like, oh, see, Steel was right. I think still to this day, the devs are kind of fucking up. I think the game's trying to be something that it isn't. I think ultimates are really fucked up in the game right now and they need to be tweaked heavily. I think the game needs to rely a lot more on like, you need to be able to do individual plays and make an impact. I think like Anna screws up the game because she's too powerful. I think every time they introduce a new hero, they just fuck up the entire meta and there's some stupid new cookie cutter combo. I remember like there was no hero limits where everyone was double Winston, double Tracer, double Lucio. That transitioned into something else where everyone was like double McCree and then finally they imposed single hero limit and then everyone's running like this character because it's bullshit and everyone was running like Anna plus Reaper because you just put your ultimates and then you wipe the enemy team and it's just so stupid. There's no like there's no like depth to it. Like CS, you see a wide range of strategies. You see fakes, double fakes, this, that. Like you can do early buys, late buys, eco rounds, stacks, gamble stacks, everything. And then in Overwatch, it's like it feels like there's like a meta that every team sticks to that one play because it's just so powerful and ridiculous that you can just go through and whoever executes that one play better wins the game, or that one play quicker wins the game.
So let's just jump back to the main thrust and then we'll go to something fun and then I'll let you go because I've kept you long enough. So appeals. There was a thing first up, which was it was an indefinite ban, not a permanent ban.
Right.
And I was like saying that's, Valve have got to clarify that. And Valve had said to me in person when I had a meeting with them at Cluj-Napoca, they were like, we don't think the language is unclear. And I said, look, I know you're Valve guys and I don't want to overstep my boundaries because I like you and we've always had a very good working relationship. And I've got an open channel of communication with them. And I've always had that. And it's been beneficial on a number of things, that I don't need to go public about and beat my chest and say, look what I've done. But I like having that open channel of communication. But fuck me, was it frustrating when they were trying to tell me indefinite and permanent are the same.
Yeah.
And they said, we don't think the language is unclear. And eventually they did come out and clarify.
I, at the 6-month mark, messaged Matt Wood on Twitter because he followed me at the time. So I opened a DM with him. I asked him to clarify indefinite. He said indefinite means there's like no time, but we're not going to reevaluate before 1 year. That's what he said to me. So I said, all right, I'll come back at a year. And then obviously
that's kind of cruel in a way.
Yeah.
Because, reevaluate says to me there's going to be some sort of formal appeals process. They're going to sit down with you guys. They're going to talk about it. They're going to look at what they've learned over the year, which if they, I've told them this. They know this is a case. that people were betting left, right, and center, violating gambling rules. People were taking money from gamblers, skins from gamblers, fixing matches, giving information to high-profile bettors. The scene was a sewer between 2014 and early 2016. It was cancer across the board. And I think if Valve laid all of that bare and realized that there needed to be a firm hand and some guidance, the fair thing to do would have been to have given you guys the right to appeal the sentence.
Yeah. Well, that never came. I did send them an email about, like, I remember I sent them an email about accountability where I was just, like, starting to understand why they punished me and what I did and the effect that I had on the community. I sent that and I said I'm not going to send anything else until, the 1 year mark or whatever. And then obviously I didn't have time to send anything else because, well, they put out another blog post before the 1 year mark. It was like the beginning of January, whereas they put their original blog post out at the end of January. So I'm just like, oh, well, fuck me, I guess.
So have you thought about seeing what your options are? Because, I know a lot of people say, well, it's Valve, private company, they can do what they want, and all of that might be true. But equally, I know from talking to sports lawyers, because they're the kind of circles I swim in these days.
Yeah.
A lot of people look over and say that the fact that they've arbitrarily given you these life bans and there hasn't been a disciplinary process, you haven't had the right to answer the charges, you don't have the right to appeal the charges. A lot of people feel that you've actually got grounds to at least get them in a room, and even if the outcome's the same, at least you had.
Right, and a process.
Yeah, a process, yeah.
We did. I don't know what happened with the process. I think it kind of died. We started it, I think, fairly early last year, or maybe even a little bit longer than that, where it was basically that we wanted to just present a big document and case to Valve and say, like, we want a chance at just, like, talking to you guys, and like, this is all we want. We don't want to sit here and just, like, get unbanned right now. We want to just be able to present our case and have a process. I don't know what happened with that, but in part of that, conversations arose about, donations to charity, committing a percentage of our winnings from tournaments to whatever case, or forfeiting them. We talked about, maybe we do, like, a public appearance or a video or PSA, something like that. And I don't think Valve budged on that, or I don't specifically remember because I didn't keep up with it. It wasn't it wasn't something that I was at the forefront of. It was something that I funded on someone else's behalf. Really, it wasn't primarily for me.
What I think would have been like a reasonable thing is now that we're at the 2 year mark, I think what would have been reasonable would be if they said, okay, you've had a 2 year ban from all competitions. Now we're going to put you on a 1 year probationary period. During that time, you will be allowed to compete. You are not allowed to have any association with any bettors, gambling sites of any kind, and you will do 6 public appearances where you inform, other pros, whatever it is, media appearances, where you talk about, the wrongs of match fixing, what you've learned, why people should stay away from it, how it undermines the integrity of the game. And, you probably could work with, like, ESIC, Ian Smith, those guys. And I think at the end of that, I think, that's how much more can you ask?
I think that would be at least grounds to get unbanned from the other leagues, but Valve seem pretty, like, heavy-set in their ways, and they're not going to budge.
Mm-hmm. I mean, never say never. I think, look, there's still players placing bets, which Valve have come out and said is also wrong. They did say in that second blog, Unnecessary Risks, I think it was called.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and they said that if you associate with high-level bettors, this is wrong. If you place bets of any kind on any Counter-Strike matches, this is wrong. And just the other day, I saw a pro player placing bets using his Steam account through the HLTV website. Bold as brass. It was there for everybody to see. Yep. A few people contacted me about it. I'd already noticed it. Sam already noticed it. And, you know, I don't know what to do anymore because, like, do I forward all this stuff onto Valve? See, knowing that some other guy might get absolutely fucked.
Yeah.
You know?
It puts you in a moral conflict because you know that it's wrong, but you know that what's going to happen, like you'll feel guilty about it because you don't feel like it's appropriate, an appropriate action that the person
would take. It's like, I'm happy to pass it on to Valve, but equally there's an expectation there that you're going to mete out any punishments in a fair and reasonable fashion. And if I don't have confidence you're going to do that, then where is my obligation outside of? And this is the thing, you can't win. Like I'm in a not a similar position here, but I'm in this position where it's like, if I say, well, hey, I don't want to get anyone banned for life again, all the fans go, oh, well, you support match fixing. If I come out and say, okay, well, I'm going to pass all the information over to Valve again, people say you're a piece of shit. You just ruined someone's career for life.
It's Reddit. It's lose-lose. Like, there's nothing you can do. It's not Reddit. It's the community. It's, there's too many people on each side of the fence, and no matter what you do, it's like they're going to spin it against you, and you're always going to be a piece of shit. It's the same thing that happened with me. And it's like, I even tried doing the steps. I put in a blog post in December of 2015, 100% of all the winnings I make next year, I'm going to donate to charity. And what did people take out of that? They said, it's just like a PR thing. It's he's not gonna, like, he's not true to it, or they were skeptical of it because I said, like, after expenses, it's like if I drive to a LAN or I fly to a LAN and it costs me $500 to get there and I win $1,000, I have to pay the travel fees with it, and then I'll donate the rest. And I thought that would be fairly, like, clear cut, but some people are just like, what does that mean? He's just gonna make up expenses. Like, well, what the fuck? Like, what am I supposed to do? I'm trying to do something good.
Did you ever try and make right with the people that lost skins on the bet? I don't know if there's any way to do that realistically.
I don't think there is a way, because we never know. Like, you don't know how many people bet. Well, I guess there is a way to find out how many people bet and the value. I don't know about the value. I don't know individually, like, which person bet, which person didn't. All I can do is try to, like, do my part. I've donated a considerable amount to charity over the last year, and, like, I haven't said publicly what the number is. I don't feel like it's going to help my case in any way. So I've just, like, this is the first time I'm going to be publicly talking about it. Like, I've mentioned in private to you before, and to maybe, like, a handful of other people.
And this is the thing. I don't know what the appropriate fix is. I think there's one there. I don't think you need to beat yourself over the head repeatedly and donate constant winnings to charity. I don't think you're going to find a redemptive element in that, honestly. Right. I think that's almost for you as a person. Right. Like, I've done that before. Like, you try and balance out the bad you've done with the good. I've done some pretty heinous shit way back when, before I got invested in esports, and there comes an element where you're like, oh yeah, I did do some pretty gnarly shit. I should carry that forward at some point. And you do random charitable acts, and you're trying to have a zero-sum game. My wrongs versus my rights. If I can get to the end and it's balanced, the scales are balanced. Fine.
They don't balance ever, do they?
No, they don't. You're either going too far one way, too far the other. That's just human nature. You're never gonna get that. But I think, honestly, I think we're at a stage now where people are gonna start. I think everybody can see at this point it's almost like zealotry. Like, I totally respect Valve's position, where they explained it to me by saying there have to be two things players are mortally afraid of doing, and that is cheating or match fixing. And they must be terrified of it, and they must never want to engage in it. But match fixing's still going on. I don't want to burst anyone's bubbles, but it's still going on. I could reel off a list of names for people who are doing it right now. Cheating's still going on. That's... people are on the gear, boys. I'm not saying the entire pro level scene is, because that's absurd, but there's always going to be a cheater. And it's interesting, isn't it? We just see a guy like Emilio, the most embarrassing VAC ban in Counter-Strike history. VAC banned in the middle of a competitive match on stream. And he's going to events again, on teams again, playing with players. You know, like he played in that team Dream Chasers, right? He played alongside Pro Nax, right? Wasn't it? I think. And these guys, if you ask them, what do you think of cheaters? They go, oh, well, they're all scumbags, ban them all for life. You just helped one get some prize money. Right. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is people can be fluid now. I think we're getting to a more sensible world in esports where things aren't absolute. And I think people are willing to forgive, forget, move on, give people new chances, and then hit you hard on the second fuck up. Like if Emilio got VAC banned again, he's toast. He's done. Same if you got caught throwing a game again. But I think we've got to get to that point where we can give people that second chance. And I hope if enough people in Counter-Strike come around to that way of thinking, and again, it's contextually dependent, right? Like, I don't think Cud should be unbanned. That guy fixed 1 million matches, like, you know? I don't think D-Born should be unbanned, you know? I don't know enough about Casey Foster, but from my findings, he probably knew a bit more than the players did and about throwing and gambling. And therefore, maybe, you know, the fact he's gone on to have this great, nice new lease of life with WME, IMG, and Boomio, that seems a little bit unfair to me when you can't even get a fucking job. So, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what it looks like. But I think we can get there. I think we can get to a stage where maybe you can work the desk at a minor, you know? Pete Rose does baseball broadcasts. Why not you? Right.
Like hopefully one day. I don't know. It's like I feel like I'm always at an upward battle. Like even when I'm playing in Rank S, I have like Twitch chats just like, why are you trying so hard? Like people don't care about this and shit. And it's like, why do you care? It's only $5,000. Like these guys don't like, you know, the pros don't care about $5,000. It's nothing to them. And people just trivialize the fuck out of it. And it's like, at the end of it, like, I didn't tell anyone this. I was saying, like, it's $5,000 for myself. I ended up donating it all anyways. Like, it's, like, I don't know. Like, the community's kind of fucked up in their perspective about everything. And I don't know for what reason. I don't know if it's just because they're pessimists, if they're I don't know what it is. It's really depressing now, just to think about it.
So here, one wild question, and then I'm going to hit you with something that'll bring a smile to your face. Okay. I heard a wild story from ESEA when I was doing all my investigation, and I can't remember who it was, but I think it was D. Bourne, because Derek Bourne used to work for ESEA, right? He was an employee. Yeah. Okay, and their client used to be a bit more invasive than people used to let on. So one of the things that I heard, and I could never get anyone on record to verify if this was the case or not.
I heard it from, I think I know what you say, and D-Born told me that straight up. If it's the same thing, and if it's
okay,
not,
well, let's see if it's the same thing.
Okay.
Because the ESEA client could grab Steam chat. Yeah. That LP Kane at ESEA knew about the throw, and he confronted Derek about it privately and didn't say anything publicly. Is this true?
Yep. Yeah.
That happened.
So D-Born said to me that LP Kane literally read word for word all the conversation between D-Born and Dazed, and like knew about it. And he said, if Valve doesn't do anything, we're gonna do a 1-year ban. That's what LP Kane told D-Born, and that's what D-Born told me. And this happened before we got banned. This is like still probably like early January or late December or something. Because I was thinking of using D-Born as the 5th on Torqued.
So the ESCA client could just read Steam chats.
Yep.
Not bad. What a wonderful company they are, mate.
Yeah.
Love those guys. Love LPK.
And that's when they fired D-Born as well, because they knew about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That timeline does match up. All right, so here you go. This is where we end. This is the stuff that I want to talk about, because obviously, you know, you've made friends and enemies, and you know, all across Counter-Strike.
Sure.
One of the funniest things I've ever seen recently was this whole Bogdan shit, right?
Sure. Okay.
Like, seriously, I was creased. Even before this interview, I watched, like, someone had compiled, like, a highlight reel of all the games you played with him, all the demos of him you reviewed.
Yeah.
And I just got to say, like, usually I'm always inclined to kind of side with the underdog, but this guy's fucking crazy.
He's delusional, right?
No, he's so dumb. He's so unbelievably stupid, though, dude.
Have you seen his stream highlights? Every time he talks about like me and Days and shit, he thinks like I'm the reason he got kicked out of Rank S, and everyone believes that shit too.
He got kicked out because he was dog shit. There's no way he's a Rank S level player. Like, I've been playing recently with like Anders and Metas. Right. You know, like, we're all old and shit, right? Like, I've been playing with Thorin. Bogdan couldn't carry us. Like, he wouldn't look out of position playing alongside our old crusty asses, you know?
Yeah.
So I got to ask about that, because you had this sort of running back and forth with him. We've even got Bogdan's lore out of it. It just shows that even when you don't mean to, you can contribute memes to Counter-Strike. Right. But like, he was, it just looked to me that this was all him. Like, he was being super aggressive with you for no reason. Like, that's what triggered it, right? He started at you saying, yeah.
That's usually how it happens. When people don't understand this, fuck, it irks me. I will always normally, like, if I'm playing with someone, the first times I interact with them, I will be calm and be like, tell them something. And then it's usually that they either respond by like basically telling me to fuck off, or they just don't do it and they'd never learn from it, that I become irritated and start getting really fucking ragey at them. So I'm still playing Overwatch, and I'm starting to like balance a little bit of Overwatch, a little bit of Counter-Strike on my stream. I started playing Rank S again. This was probably like November last year or some shit like that. And like, I come into Rank S and people are talking about Bogdan and how bad he is. I'm like, what? Like, surely he's not that bad. Like, what are you guys talking about? And then like, I finally get in like a game with him, and I think he's trolling the first time because he's like trying to like revolutionize the game, and he thinks like he's gonna, like, he's so ahead of the meta that he's just gonna revolutionize the game. And he's telling me something. I thought he was trolling, like a setup he was saying on pistol round, like playing one person A on Dust 2, and he's at the barrels, and then everyone else plays like B side of the map. Like, dude, this guy's like blatantly trolling, the way he's talking, the way he's saying everything. And then I realized like he was actually like serious about it. And all the games I played with him, he was just like so terrible. Like, well, how the hell did this guy get in here?
Well, one day he grinded all those fucking games nonstop.
Yeah. So it was the way the Rank S promotion system worked. And then one day Rank S is done for the night. No one else is queuing up. So I queue up a random pug, and I get him in it. And then there was that famous Bogdan's Law, like the spawning of the meme, where he starts having an argument with me, and he starts calling me an idiot. He's like, such a fucking idiot, dude. Like, I see other teams do this. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're an idiot. And I'm just like, what the fuck? So I'm like, how bad is this guy really? So after that pug, I downloaded just like I went to his ESA profile, found a random game. I wasn't even in the game. I started watching it. I saw in 10 rounds, like, the most fucking amateur level plays I've ever seen.
Facing people while reloading. Classic.
Just the worst, most amateur decisions you can make. He was doing all of them. And I made did I make a highlight or like I think I did. I think I might have made a clip on my YouTube about like how bad he was. Highlighted like 5 rounds of the entire demo, or maybe like 10 rounds or something. I don't remember. And that's where it spawned. And yeah, I did make the video because people think that it was my video that got him kicked out. But he was already on the way out, and ESC was already fixing the promotion system before I even knew who the fuck Bogdan was. So
I will say this though, Josh. I think he was right about his law. Like, and I'll tell you why. So not to him, not because like I wouldn't have given him anything. Like
right.
When he's involved, Bogdan breaks Bogdan's law. But if you apply Bogdan's law to a real player with a brain, I think he might be right.
So I think people are strung up on the wording I use. It's context though, right? You know, okay, if you're CT side, you're up a main, you take an op, you're low health, that's good. You're on T side post plant, you're like maybe even like 4-on-4 type of thing, 3-on-3, you're low health, taking it up, that's good. But like, it's like I'm having a conversation with you about pizza toppings. I'm like, no man, beef fucking sucks, dude. I would never get beef. And people are like, what? He doesn't like beef, but a steak is amazing. It's like, well, that's not the fucking context of the conversation. In the round that we were in, the context of the situation was we had no map information. We had no information of where the enemy was. We had no control of any positions. And it's fucking Bogdan. Like, what the hell? So in the moment, I said, when the hell is that ever a good idea? Obviously, I'm fucking talking about that fucking context. And then there's like all these videos about it, like Bogdan's right. It's like, well, fuck it, dude. If this meme shit's gonna fucking circle jerk, I'm just gonna fucking out meme everyone. And I made the video. I was right. I was wrong. Bogdan was right.
Yeah, well, at least you got some hits out of it.
True.
So there's that. So look, we'll wrap it up here. I already taken up enough of your time, and I'm sure you got better shit to do.
Yeah, playing PUBG.
You should fucking play CS, dude. Like, I know it's tough and everything, but like, you still got it, and fucking people like watching it, and you gotta. I know this is rich coming from me, but here's what I do, right, with the trolls. If anyone tries to backseat game me or says anything I don't like, I just remove them. They're still gonna watch. Yeah. They're still gonna watch because it's like I say, you're the animal in the cage, brother. They're still gonna want to watch and stick their fingers in. And what you can do is you can limit the impact they have on you. I mean, just put chat in fucking sub mode, which might affect your numbers slightly, but people want to watch. The interaction thing's like a bonus for the fucking trolls and stuff. You just shouldn't let it drive you crazy, dude. Because, I know it's easier said than done, and it twists my fucking melon. But you don't need to run away from the thing that you're good at for good or ill, right? Like, you should be hammering that rank S. Don't worry about giving the money to charity anymore. That's all been done. You've done your time in the gulag, the non-redemptive gulag, and just play the games and just see what happens. See what tomorrow brings. Like if Valve ever intimated that they were open to an appeal or were going to revise the sentence, I'd be there straight away, showing them all the evidence of all the other players that probably got away with it. And be like, look, if we realistically apply this wacky lifetime ban for everybody, we're going to have...
Scene's fucking dead.
Yeah, the scene would be dead. I mean, there would be some big names get caught in that net. And hopefully... I just hold out that Valve are going to,
I don't think Valve will. I think it's up to the other major players to do something. And, I hope it does, at least, like... to a certain extent, even if it's restrictions, even if it's, even just let me fucking coach even. Like, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, even if the appeal was like, you can never play, but can I coach? Like, what can I do?
Because I won't go to the major, but like, let me at least, do it.
I wanted to get you guys you guys when we were having issues with Thorin's visa, and it was obviously he was going to be delayed. Like, obviously, I knew Mo would do a good job, right?
Yeah,
I know because he's an entertaining guy, and he did do a good job. Whatever people think about Mo, and again, talk about gambling just fucking spoils everything because like
there's no regulation, no one.
No, but I mean, even by that point, the CS:GO Diamond shit.
Yeah, I know.
He must know rigging an outcome, and acting like he won is bad. Like.
Right.
No one gives a fuck as long as the money comes in, right? But I wanted to get you and Dazed involved. Yeah. I probably told you that when I came in One Night Hammered or something. Like, maybe, dude.
I think other people.
Oh, that might have been Sam. I don't know.
You might have told him, but not me. I think other people were trying to get me on various different gigs, and it was always responded with a firm no.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll pass that. I don't know if E-League will be the one, but like I definitely think after the summit, I think you're gonna get more work. And Daze is doing really well over at ESL,
right?
And he's partnered up with Blue, So maybe he might want to partner up with you. If they're getting in, who wouldn't, right? That'd be good.
I thought you had someone in mind to partner up.
No. I mean, like let's just say, if they wanted to bring the band back together. Like, if you're going to have Dazed on the broadcast, like, I don't get why you can't be involved. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
And I'd like to see a Steel and Dazed cast. Didn't you do that for, was it Northern Arena or something? Or Fragadelphia or something?
No, Dazed. See, that's the thing. Dazed used to always be against everything that I did. Like, the YouTube shit, streaming, selling out, dude. He used to get so mad at me when I did that shit in casting. He got so pissed off, and now he's doing all of it. I think it's so fucking funny.
Well, you have to though, because he's got to eat. Everyone's got to make a living. So look, final thought. Because what I'm hoping is people are going to see this and again realize that you're a three-dimensional human being and not just some character in a storybook that they're reading called Counter-Strike, right? Like, that you have a life outside of this shit, and I think that I don't see a lot of empathy from the community,
from people. Yeah. I think a lot of them are either too young or just I don't know. I hope they've never made mistakes in their lives. Final thoughts, though. I don't really have any. It took a long time for you to get me to do this. I know that. I kind of said like maybe I'll get on over the last many months, but I don't know. I just never wanted to get on. I thought it would be like something that people wouldn't be interested in, or kind of like beating a dead horse almost, and I don't know. Like, I'm always kind of pessimistic towards the response of the community for any of the stuff I do, and then like even in like I made a Facebook post before New Year's 2015 where I outlined like how I'm feeling and even the donating all my earnings to prize winnings to charity, and people were I had like it was posted to Reddit, and I read some of the comments, and it just made me just not feel good at all, and it just made me not want to just like be open about that type of stuff, because every time I'm open about something that's personal, it's always used against me as ammunition. And that's why I'm some of the people that I used to play games with and was friends with for a long time, I no longer kind of talk to them because they use that as ammunition against me, and that's not why I talk about my personal life. It's I talk about it because I feel like it's important, or I feel like I want people to listen and take me seriously and understand me, but it's never used that way. So I was always like, well, what's the point in going on the show and talking about it? I feel like people aren't going to interpret it well, or people are going to not watch it and then like say Steel's a shady, scummy, whatever, and just comment without listening or anything, and I felt like it wasn't worth it. I
mean, they are going to do that.
Yeah, I know.
That's the point. But I mean, you gotta.
I think you got me at a good point right after CS Summit, honestly.
Yeah, but look, I wanted this to also be like a fucking calling card in a way. Like I said, we did it with Sponge, right? Like Sponge was at an all-time low in community perception. People considered him a crybaby because he'd walked away from a team and was complaining about stuff. And he didn't. There wasn't a lot of love for him. Like people relished when they got 16-0'd after saying no one gives us respect. People really hammered it home, and he was struggling to cope with being a public person, because you don't get any training for that, right? No one comes to you and says, "Oh, hey, Steel, you're in the public eye now. So everything you say is going to be overanalyzed by thousands of people. Everything you do is going to be monitored and recorded also by thousands of people. You are now going to find people who in the scene who consider themselves to be colleagues or peers of yours, volunteer opinions you don't care about, as if and you've got to handle all of this with good grace and never get angry about it, and never get frustrated with living life in that goldfish bowl. And no one teaches you how to negotiate it. I struggle with it all the time. I've got a high level of scrutiny now. I work for a TV company. Right. They always throw the little hint out there. So, would you like an intern to run your Twitter for you? Nah, dude, because I'm going to keep the PR division on its toes. But I totally fucking understand what it's like, And Sponge went through the same shit, and he came on the show, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about being an analyst." And everyone was like, pff, "Sponge, analyst?" I think even people in the scene were like, "Oh, I don't think he'll do it. He's just a crybaby." Now he's really widely regarded. So
I always liked him, and I like Sean Gares. I think does a really good job too.
Yeah, he does. Again, Sean's another person I want to see on the desks more. Yeah, and you too, right?
Right.
This is where you say I'm available for children's parties.
I'm available for children's parties. You can see how well I am with them. Well, that sounds a little weird.
Yeah. Sorry,
I'll be your dog sitter. Let's say that. What about that? No, it was a lot easier to do this than I thought it was gonna be. And
I think the key thing here is like you've got to put the full stop at the end of the sentence, dude. And like I'm I'll say what I got to say. I said the same thing to Dazed.
Sure.
Like I'm sorry your career got fucked up as a result of truth telling. I think some penalty is appropriate. But like I never wanted to send a friend down into the fucking depths and have to relive depression. I didn't enjoy fucking seeing you all strung out on stream, awake for days, eyes like piss holes in the snow, thinking I can't even reach out to my old mate and say, "Are you all right?" Because I'm the last person he wants to talk to. So it was there's no like I don't know what I would do if I get in a time machine. I guess I hope you guys see reason and decide to, just come clean. Yeah. And then I don't think Valve ever get involved, but
yeah.
But the main thing is, like I say, I think you will always have a part in history. The iBUYPOWER, that'll always be a watershed moment. That's like the moment that Counter-Strike grew up and it came at your expense. And while I think you might feel a degree of shame or whatever else about that, I think you got to understand that I don't think it does define you 2 years from now, 4 years from now. I think you'll always be infamous. I think people will always talk about it. But I think when you're in a room, maybe they don't always talk about it to you.
See, I'll be 30 years old by that time, right?
Nothing wrong with that, dude. The game ain't going anywhere. Right. So, you got to hang in there and make sure you don't go anywhere too.
All right.
Right. So, I was going to say any sponsors or anything to shout out to. We'll get you on.
At this present time, it depends. When's the show going out?
We're probably going to edit it and put it out tomorrow. So.
Okay. No, I'm good for now then.
We'll see what happens.
Can I plug my skin sponsor?
Please don't. Tell you what you should do though, right? Next time we're playing a game, me, Anders, and the guys, come join us. Because I'm playing on a European server with 100 ping and raging like a bastard, and I want someone else to share my pain. You should come along. I think it'll be therapeutic. So there you have it. The great Josh Steele Nissan, formerly of iBUYPOWER, now out there, a force to be reckoned with, a commentator extraordinaire, a streamer extraordinaire, very entertaining guy, someone I've known a long time, and not defined by one thing. So definitely... follow him on his Twitch channel, which is Steel TV, right?
Steel_TV on Twitch. YouTube is Josh Nissan CS. Twitter is Josh Nissan. Instagram is Josh Nissan. Facebook, people still use that. Josh Nissan.
There you go. So go and support him. He's definitely paid his dues. And I don't know what we'll be doing next on the Richard Lewis Show. We keep saying we're going to have Donut Operator on. We want to do that at some point. Talk to him about all these Antifa riots and Counter-Strike streaming. So that's going to be an interesting convergence of worlds. But the main thing is, I hope you enjoyed this one. It's been a long time coming. And certainly if you're in the comments and you're just there to give Josh a hard time, I don't think very much of you, so maybe you should revise doing that. So there you have it. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you on the next episode. Ta-ta.